Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Monday. Welcome to the live. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity with Coach Renz. Today, we're going to talk about the historical errors in the story of Jesus, especially around his birth, beginning of his ministry, and his genealogy. So we're going to go through those things for a little bit of time here. Let me get myself together. It's a Monday morning, man. It's a Monday morning. So here we are. Hey, Teresa Grand Rise. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Had a good weekend. Went down to Houston, visit with my nephew and my great niece and nephew. It's a sign that you're getting old when you got great nieces. No, it's not. It's just a sign them jokers having babies. But they grown, so. And no, Teresa, I was fawning all over the great nieces and nephews. So when I have grandkids, I'm not gonna fawn all over them. But my brother does. He had to be here 2 weekends ago to understand the joke about the kids, grandkids. That's why y'all got to show up. Next year, we're doing the cruise October 31st through November 4th, leaving out of New Orleans. If you go to my Facebook page, you will see a pinned post as well as a event group for this cruise to be able to gain information. If you need a cruise mate, you advertise it there. You find your cruise mate. I don't know, but we're gonna go to Chichen Itza. Is the main stop in the Yucatan Peninsula at Progreso, Mexico, and so we're going to go to Chichen Itza. For those who sign up to go on that part, we're going to have some talks while we're on the cruise, though, on the days at sea, which there's 2 days at sea. We'll schedule some talks while we're out at sea. I'll make sure it won't interfere with your fun time because I want you to be able to. We're going to fun. We're going to relax. Yes, we're going to fun. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but we're going to fun. But we're going to fund. We're going to relax, get to know each other, continue to build a community. This year was great here in San Antonio. Next year is going to be even greater as we go on a cruise, little 4 or 5 day junket to what is it going? Cozumel and then to Progreso. And if you're able, definitely want you to do the Chichen Itza tour with it's the one, the cenote. So it's the cenote and Chichen Itza. So I look forward to that. So that's the plan. But you can find that on my YouTube, my Facebook page. You can find there's no link, there's no group. You get in where you fit in on the cruise. I'm not blocking nothing, just to let you know. I forgot it can't happen. Got that. Be more careful. What is we doing? I can't wait to move next month. All these damn dogs that these people got around here. All this barking. I know y'all hear this barking. There's no reason for that. Damn dogs. And no disrespect to dog people. Ugh. I forgot to make one change. Give me a second. This change must be done. And then we're going to get into the conversation. And some of y'all have already heard this conversation to a certain degree, but we're going to get into more of a detailed understanding of this so that when this becomes a point of contention, you are able to discuss this. And it not just be, some vague bullshit, and that you will actually be able to break it down into every aspect of it. and know what the hell you're talking about. I'm co-hosting. All right. Look at Boss Lady getting here early enough. Not getting here at the very end. Isn't that just cute? Special. All right. Y'all ready to get into this? I hope y'all had a great weekend. But you're ready to get into this. So, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk to many people many times, and I bring up the fact that one of the things that makes the historical Jesus a non-historical character, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and just something that is within the Bible itself, and then when we compare that Bible to actual history, we can see that within it itself and actual history that the birth of Jesus narrative, as well as the beginning of his ministry, is not accurate, has many errors in it, could not have happened, and is most likely the redub of a previous story of a Messiah type who was combined into a priest military Messiah that became one to just a priestly Messiah with some ethereal kingdom. This is why it is still debatable whether or not the character of Jesus, the real historical Jesus, existed. Were there itinerant preachers of that day? Yes. Was any of them named Yeshua? Yeah. Is that the same as the Yeshua in the Bible? No. And in this little bit of information, it will allow you to be able to deconstruct from the Bible in its entirety. But I want you guys to be able to have this and know the numbers. And when you can see a thing and clearly understand the thing, then it makes it easier for you to be able to understand it and respond to other people when they make these claims. Now, when we look at this story of Jesus's birth, we have two different variations of this story. One is out of Matthew, the other one is out of Luke. But when you compare the two stories, you have different narratives. And one of the reasons why you have different narratives is because you have Greek-speaking people who are writing this story who do not understand fully the Aramaic nor the Hebrew, and they are writing this story in Greek from a perspective of an outsider, not an insider. This is not being written by Hebrew. This is not even being, most likely, it is not even being written by a Jewish person, right? Because so many things are quoted wrong and done wrong. Now, Luke already says that he is gaining this information not as an eyewitness, but as a follower of Paul. And as that follower, he is just accumulating information from all the people who were supposedly live, who were there to gain this information firsthand, but yet he starts out with incorrect information and he creates errors within his own writings. Matthew is supposedly a eyewitness and one of the oldest eyewitnesses, even though Matthew copies a lot of Mark. And if you were an eyewitness, why would you need to copy someone else's work? But Matthew is also supposed to be an eyewitness. He's supposed to be someone who is writing this from the Jewish perspective, which is one of the main reasons why you see this character misquote the Bible, call things that are prophecies that are not prophecies. But that's the problem with Matthew, that it is not written by someone who was there with the Jesus character. So if we start from the beginning, when was Jesus born? What is the evidence within the Bible, between Matthew and Luke? When was Jesus born? You guys are going to help me with this. We're not just going to do this in a lecture format. according to Matthew, Jesus had to be born before what time frame? Because I want to go this step by step. Not so long lecture, you start to get, a little brain fuzz and everything. But if we go through this step by step, then we come to an easier understanding. So anybody who thinks they have an answer, when was Jesus born? And according to the book of Matthew, he had to be born before what year? So before what year was Jesus born? We in class today. The agnostic occultist says he had to have been born before 4 to 6 BCE. Anybody else? I ain't gonna tell you. Now you might be right. I ain't gonna tell you if you're right. That way everybody else, Malcolm Wilkes says year 1. We need a little. Okay, but he says year 1. Before the death of King Herod. Agnostic occultist, you already gave your answer. Hold on. Let everybody else get an answer. I understand Nub's revenge, but what we're saying here is that if the Jesus character was a true, literal, if he was a historical character, he would have to have been born, according to Matthew. And we're going to go ahead and move forward. Both Malcolm, easy to say year 1, yeah, but to be more accurate, it would have to be before the year 4 BCE, because King Herod is said to have died by 4 BCE at the latest. So by 4 BCE at the latest, although some say he died in 6 CE. But we're going to say at the latest is 4 BCE that Jesus had to be born, according to Matthew. Now, this means that he has to have been born. King Herod the Great had to be alive, and he had to have received the wise men, and he had to have done the infanticide. So it has to be, it's a little bit of time. He can't be born the day of. Herod, he born the day, Herod dies tomorrow. Got to have a little time in there. So it has to be a few years. Could have been, if he died in 4 BCE, then Jesus had to have been born more around 5 or 6 BCE in order to give the story time, right? So we have this range. But according to Luke, when was the Jesus character born? This, and I said this a lot of times in debates, so you guys should know the answer to some of these. According to Luke, when was Jesus born? And let's make this a little. Let me see how this is going to look. I don't know if it's mirrored or not. Okay. We got Matthew over here. All right, look, we got that. Nope, can't see it on. I need clean this water and clean it. This is terrible. Maybe use this board if I want to. I'm gonna just clean it off. My cleaner is on. Yeah. All right, so I saw somebody wrote it in there. Let me see. What's another way I could do this without using board? The agnostic occultists between 6 and 7 CE, when Quirinius became the governor of Syria and took a Roman census. Yep. Hold on. Hey, look at this. Hi, my friend. Feeling the wrath of God yet? Is your channel growing or shrinking like I prayed, sir? Repent and turn from your rebellious ways because the Lord is good. Humble yourself, sir. Mm. Well, my channel is growing, sir. Sorry to burst your lack of power bubble. Gentle Lord 2231. But this channel has been growing. As a matter of fact, last month and the month before had some of the largest growth that is ever experienced. Yeah, like the largest growth it experienced this year was the last 2 months. Their gentle Lord. And isn't that interesting? You're going to pray that someone's receive pain and lose things in order to painfully force them over to your religion. That's funny to me. I'm sorry. I know that was an interruption, but that's funny. Okay, so back to back to it. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. So what we have here, according to Matthew, Jesus was born before Herod the Great had died. According to Luke, Jesus is born at the time frame of the census of Quirinius around 6 CE. Now we have Roman records that back this up. We have Josephus records that back this up. So we know that these things are happening. Now, why is he doing Quirinius doing this census? It's because King Herod of Archelaus, who is King Herod the Great son, is being thrown out of office. All right. So he's been thrown out of office. But there's a problem. He's been thrown out of office when Jesus and in the Matthew story, when Joseph is on his way out of Egypt because he heard that the King Herod has died, he gets a dream. An angel comes to him in a dream, and in that dream, he tells him to go to Galilee because, and where it is being ran by King Herod Antipas, go there because King Herod Archelaus is an evil dude. So don't go to Jerusalem. Don't go to Bethlehem, rather. Right? So even with this, it demonstrates that Archelaus is still ruling at the time frame that they come out of Israel. I mean, out of Egypt. Yet Archelaus is kicked out of office when Jesus is born, according to Luke. So do we see how those don't match up? Archelaus is ruling when they leave Egypt to come back to Bethlehem. But Archelaus has been kicked out of office when Jesus is born, according to Luke. So we have things that Jesus is doing when he's not even supposed to be born. And we know these, and this is not just based on the fairy tale. This is based on people naming things. Now, why would Matthew tell this story about Jesus going down to Egypt? And I know we haven't really gotten there yet as far as talking about their separating, going down to Egypt. But Matthew tells the story of Jesus going down to Egypt because of the infanticide that Herod wants to find out. He wants to kill the baby Jesus, so he's going to kill all the babies. So an angel tells him to go down there. Well, this is done so that what they perceive to be a prophecy can be fulfilled, but it is not a prophecy. You see, Matthew is writing to the Hebrews, right? And the Hebrews, he thinks that in the Hebrews, there is a prophecy about the Messiah coming out of Israel, out of Egypt. But in Hosea 11, that is not a prophecy. Let me read it to you. Hosea 11 is actually recounting history, right? He says in Hosea 11, chapter 1, when Israel was a child, I loved him, loved was past tense. when Israel was, past tense, a child, I loved, past tense, him. And out of Egypt I called, past tense, my son. Now, Israel has already been related into the singular of a child. It has already been related to the singular of the him. So when he says, I called my son, it is still in relation of these plural being brought down to the singular. So this is not talking about an individual person. This is talking about Israel, right? I called my son. The more I called, past tense, them, plural, the more they went from me. They kept sacrificing to the Baals and the offerings of incense. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, the bands of love, and I was like to those who lift infants to their cheeks and bent down on them and fed them. Then they shall return to the land of Egypt. The Assyrian king shall be their king, because they have refused to return to me. So this is Hosea referencing history of how the whole Moses story, them coming out of Egypt. They cried for me. I brought them out of Egypt, but then they went back and they still sacrificed to Baal, and they still did all this. You remember they went and they got with the Canaanite women, and they would, every now and then go get with some other gods. And so they kept sacrificing. They kept offering incense to idols. The Moabite Pum was too good for them. So they got killed for, some of them got killed for that. So, and he says he kept loving them, kept doing things for them. And then now he's pissed off and like, nah, the Assyrian king is going to rule over you. You're going back to the land of Egypt. And in this instance, it is a reference to bondage. And the Assyrian king shall be there because they have refused and returned to me. So they're getting ready to go into Assyrian captivity, or they're in Assyrian captivity because of this. So Hosea 11 is not talking about Jesus, but Matthew, who is a Greek who does not understand the Hebrew, is utilizing Hosea 11 as a basis to think that it is prophecy, but it's not prophecy. It is not prophecy. Hosea 11 is not prophecy. And you'll find this happens quite often with the believers. They are quoting things that Jesus fulfilled this prophecy, but most of it is not even prophecy to begin with, even though we know he didn't fulfill one literal thing, all right? So, and like most false prophets, and thank you for, this is so appropriate that gentle Lord is here, because he said that he was going to pray and that my channel was going to start losing numbers here on YouTube, and my YouTube channel just continued to grow. And so that means that gentle Lord is a false prophet, because if you make a prophecy and the prophecy is fake, it doesn't happen, then you are then a false prophet. And he just gave us a demonstration of that. So it's very timely that we haven't seen this person, but he happens to come back after his prophecy has failed. Because just in the month, what were we in? We're in November right now. In September, the numbers grew. I had over 1,000 new people join the channel. Over 500 joined the channel in, what was the last month? October. So you see how the false prophecies don't work. They come in, they make they prophecies from their religion, and it doesn't work. So thank you for giving us an example, gentle Lord, of why we definitely walk away from this religion, right? So that's what's funny, is that he came on here to try to convert people to Christianity, but all he did was strengthen us by saying that, your channel is going to decrease. Your YouTube channel is going to decrease. I'm going to pray for it. And you prayed. And then here the channel has grown by 1,500 people in the last 2 months. That is funny. Oh, and I just got a brand new fan on TikTok. Someone just joined the fan club on TikTok. Thank you for your false prophecies. But anyway, back to the lesson here. So they are hilarious. So we see that Matthew is trying to utilize Hosea 11 to create in the creation of his narrative of sending the Jesus character down into Egypt. He's trying to fulfill Hosea 11 as if Hosea 11 is the prophecy, but Hosea 11 is not a prophecy at all. It is a recounting of history of Exodus, of what they believe to be history of Exodus, and their now disobedience is bringing them into the Assyrian captivity, that they'll be under the Assyrian king. So it was a recounting of history, not a prophecy. Had nothing to do with an individual, just like the suffering servant in Isaiah. It's all talking about Israel. But in the Matthew version, so he sends them down to Egypt. But in the Luke version, after the time frame of purification is over, they don't go down to, there's no killing of babies because Herod the Great is already dead. There's no fear of Herod Archelaus because Herod Archelaus has been taken out of office and is being replaced by a Roman governorship. So they, after the time frame of purification, which is 8 days for the baby, 40 days for Mary, they go to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is then they go to Jerusalem. So of course it doesn't fit with the Matthew story. They do what they need to do as far as the circumcision, as far as the sacrificing of the doves or pigeons. They have conversation with this man and this woman, and then they go back to Galilee, to the city of Nazareth. Now, for the next 12 years, they come back to to Jerusalem to participate in the Passover, right? So during these 12 years, now, think about it. Let's do the numbers again. Let's do the numbers. According to Luke, the first 12 years of Jesus' life, his family came to Jerusalem for the Passover. But if Jesus was born during the time frame of Herod, and he was in Egypt, then he went to Egypt, there is absolutely no way they could have been coming back and forth up until Jesus was 12 from Egypt to Jerusalem, especially if Herod was still alive. And let's say it's 6 BCE when Jesus was born, right? Herod is still king. They're not coming back and forth. Then Herod Archelaus is king. They're not going back and forth. It has to be after Herod Archelaus is dead before they can come down. And when they went up to, and according to the Matthew version, when they saw that Herod Archelaus was king, they went, and it was Herod Antipas was running Galilee at that time frame. So it just doesn't work. The timing is way off. Now, we're going to look at another timing that is way off. When do you think Jesus started his ministry? In what year? What year did Jesus start his ministry? And how old was Jesus when he started his ministry? So we know that is off. They came from Egypt to Bethlehem. That's only in the Matthew version. The Luke version says they went straight from from Bethlehem to Jerusalem and then to Nazareth. And it doesn't say they came from Egypt to Bethlehem. They went from Egypt to Galilee. He was afraid. You know what? You don't even know this is an example that you don't know your own book, Fred. So take a lesson here, Fred. I'm not trying to like dog you. According to Matthew, they were on their way from Egypt to go back to Bethlehem. Then in a dream, Joseph was told that Herod Archelaus was cruel. And so instead of going to Bethlehem, they went to Galilee and settled in the city of Nazareth. That's what Matthew says. They never went anywhere. And for you to have them coming out of Egypt, you have to be talking about the Matthew story. Get your story right. I'm trying to help you out. So when you try to debate people, you kind of know what you're talking about. And history does prove that the Jesus of the Bible never existed. So I ain't getting no answer from y'all. That's because y'all getting distracted by these other people. What year did Jesus start his ministry, and how old was Jesus when he started his ministry? Oh, Martin said, you don't even know yourself. I don't know if he's talking to me, though. Oh, they might be arguing amongst each other. They might not be talking to me at all. Sorry if I don't know. Y'all not answering me. Oh, y'all so low. Okay, thank you. I guess me and the agnostic occultist is the one talking here. He was 30 when he started his ministry, and in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius. Thank you. That would seem to be correct, right? Now, the reason why people say that Jesus was 30 when he started his ministry is because, according to Luke, it says that Jesus and John the Baptist started their ministry. Kevin, you make me sick. I got to keep this one up. And I'm going to tell y'all why Kevin is mostly right. It's right more so than what you guys are saying. I want you to think about it. Luke says that Jesus started his ministry in and around the age of 30. Oh, Kevin. No, Kevin, stay back. Kevin messed it up. Kevin, stick together. I mean, I know you put a question mark there, but I want you to stick to this gun. Stick to this gun. And I'm going to show you why this is right. Why the age of 23, according to Luke, would be right. Otherwise, Luke demonstrates a contradiction. Well, Luke is demonstrating a contradiction within his own story. So let's do the math. Jesus is born during the time frame of the reign of Quirinius, which is 6 CE, right? That's when Jesus is born, right? If the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius is roughly 28 to 29 CE, but Jesus was born in 6 CE, how old is Jesus? So if he's 29, the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius is 29. It's 29 BCE. I mean, 29 CE. Jesus was born in 6 CE. How old is Jesus? Come on. It's simple math. It's already on the screen on Facebook and YouTube. It's simple math. That's 23. Exactly. It's 23. Yeah, 23. I don't know what that one is. Click the wrong one. 23. So when Jesus said he was about 30, I mean, when Luke says he's about 30, can Luke be correct? Can't be correct. Nope. Now, according to Matthew, Jesus' ministry began after John the Baptist was imprisoned, and based on his imprisonment time frame, he's either in prison. Biblically, he will be in prison between 27 and 29 because they're basing that off Luke. But based on the writings of Josephus, he's in prison between 35 and 36. The reason why there is the differences is because John the Baptist disapproved of Herod Antipas marrying this woman. Some other dudes, I think it was his sister or something, but he was against him marrying this woman. He married the woman anyway. Because John the Baptist condemned it, Antipas threw him in jail. Then Antipas, he didn't want to execute John, but then he beheaded John the Baptist, according to the story. And that is why, and the people of Israel, the reason why Josephus says it was 35 to 36 is because Antipas lost a battle against this other dude whose name just fell out my head. And it happened around 35, 36. And the people said the reason it happened is because what he did to John the Baptist. So there's a discrepancy in there. Don't know. But the Matthew version still puts his ministry beginning around 27 and 20, between 27 and 29. So let's go with that's the Bible, right? So if Matthew says that the ministry started between 27 and 29, but in Matthew, Jesus was born before Herod the Great died. How old is Jesus when he's starting his ministry according to Matthew? What's the youngest he could possibly be? All right. The youngest he could possibly be. It's not that hard on this one. And you're going to see why. Because Matthew says that he's born during the reign of Herod the Great. Herod the Great dies around 4 BCE. So Jesus had to have born at least a couple of years. According to most historians, they say that Herod was killing every child that was like 3, 4, and younger. So let's say Jesus is born in 6 or 7 BCE. If Jesus was 3 when they left, right? And they had to live down there for a while and wait for Herod to die. So they had to. So Herod didn't die till around 4. Jesus had to have lived in Egypt for a little while before they came back. You know, could have been down there for 3 years, could have been down there for 5 years, could have been down there for 10 years. He had been down there for a minute. Doesn't give exactly how long they was in Egypt. Wasn't down there for a couple of months. So let's say that Jesus is returning back with his family. They're going, and you got to remember, Herod Archelaus is still in charge. So it can't be nowhere near 6 CE. It could be anywhere up to 6 CE, I should say. Could be anywhere up to 6 CE. Jesus could be 10. He could be 12 by the time they return back. So just thinking about it mathematically, Jesus still has, he's a little kid by the time if he's born, he's probably born somewhere, let's say 10 BCE. This dude is about at 37, 38 when his ministry started. The lowest he could possibly be will be about 34. But he's about 38. Now, Luke says that he was about 30. But according to Matthew, he's going to be about 38 when he starts his ministry. Now, I want you to think about something. If he started his ministry, and this is why people say, oh, the crucifixion happened around 33, 31, 32, 33 BC, 32, 33 CE. But that can't be, he cannot have been the age that they're claiming, and for that ministry to only last 3 years, it just doesn't work, right? It places, because if he's born in 6 CE, he can't be 30. He's 23. And so he dies at 26, according to this story, if it starts at that time frame. Or he's about 38 and he dies at 41. So their years are off. They don't know how old this man was. They somewhat agree upon when he started his ministry, though. They somewhat agree. Although historian Josephus it's saying the ministry would have started around 35, 36 CE. And so it would have lasted till 38, 39 CE. And that would have been the time frame of this crucifixion. And like I said, Josephus is basing this off of when the people of Jerusalem around that time frame were declaring that Herod Antipas was defeated because of what he did to John the Baptist. Now, mind you, Josephus was born in 34, I believe, around 34, somewhere between 34 and 38 CE. So he's not an eyewitness, but he would have grown up with people who knew about this stuff. And it's very interesting. He did not grow up believing in this stuff. They were still waiting for Messiah during all that time frame of Josephus, as Josephus was growing up in Galilee. Right, so I'm more apt to take Josephus' word as for when Jesus' ministry would have started, or rather, when he wasn't really talking about Jesus' ministry. He was talking about when John the Baptist was crucified, well, had his head chopped off, is what Josephus was talking about. That happened in 35, 36. But the Bible has it happening around 27 to 29. But we can see that historically, this Jesus character is not born in any of these times. Is all a big mix up of when this character is born. And the main thing is because it is a character, definitely a character. If you were to go and study the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you're going to find what is it called? What was it called? Because I want y'all to have the right name when you go and look this up. That this Jesus character is most likely based off of, in combination with a bunch of other stuff, but this one. The teacher of righteousness. Thank you. So within the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is and these were of course found at Qumran. There is a story. It's in the Damascus documents. Just want to make sure I get y'all the right lead in, where there is the story of the teacher of righteousness. Now, the teacher of righteousness demonstrates pre-Christianity a storyline about a righteous preacher, a righteous teacher, who was a Messiah for the Hebrew people and was going to defeat the enemies. And this was most likely written in the time frame of the Greek occupation, was going to defeat the enemies. But then there would be one within his own encampment who was a liar. And this liar would teach opposing to this teacher of righteousness. Now, the Christian version of the teacher of righteousness is is Paul. And when you look at Paul, you can see how there are differences within the teachings of Jesus. They were not unified. But in the teacher of righteousness, you have this teacher who is going to upend government, holder of the law, but then he would be persecuted by the Pharisees, by the Jewish people, the Jewish administration, and then he would be killed. And that people that he was looked upon, that he was going to return with the glories of heaven and would then defeat the enemies of the Israelite people and destroy, and Israel would become the greatest place on earth to live, and so on and so forth. And there were already people worshiping a dead savior, a returning savior. And this is prior to Christianity. Now, most of you have never heard about this one of the Dead Sea Scrolls because they try to keep it. It's been kept quiet for a while. Now, I want you to go and research it because we're going to talk long and hard about it on a later date. But the teacher of righteousness thus far appears to be the Jesus story before there was a Jesus. A pre-Christian, dead, returning Messiah, whose main adversary was not the devil, but was the character in the Bible that people are now worshiping, called Paul. And yes, y'all worship Paul because you lean on Paul's word more than anybody else's. Now, the last thing that I wanted to, one more thing I wanted to go over as far as this Jesus character, which demonstrates that he could not have been a Messiah, but is not, and that is all jacked up, is what is the deal with the lineage? Now, most Christians will tell you that this lineage, let me remove this for a second, that this lineage is, Luke is giving Mary's lineage, Matthew is giving Jesus' lineage through Joseph. Now, there's a problem with that on both sides, right? There's a problem on both sides of saying this. According to Matthew, this lineage that goes through Solomon to Joseph, where the first problem is that when you go down the list and you get to where's the damn name at? The bottom of the middle list, Jeconiah line was then cursed. They could never sit on the throne of David. So if this is Joseph's line, any child of Joseph, no child of Joseph could ever sit on the throne. Now, of course, they're out on this is to say that Jesus was not the biological child of Joseph. So therefore, he, still that doesn't disqualify him. And of course, in this one, it says Joseph daddy was Jacob. That's another problem. And the reason why that's a problem, because when you look at the other side of the fence, you see that Joseph's father was Heli, or Heli, whichever way you want to pronounce it, Heli. Now, this line goes through Nathan, and through Nathan, you don't have Jeconiah, but unfortunately, both of these cannot be Joseph's line. Both of them don't work, can't work. This is why they say that this is the line of Mary. But what Luke says is that Mary is the cousin of Elizabeth, and they are from the line of Aaron. They are from the Levitical line. This line that Luke has that goes from David to Nathan to Matthias and Menna. This is not the Levitical priest line. This is all a Davidic line. So it cannot be Mary's line if she's family members to Zechariah and Elizabeth, who are from the Levitical line. So it's not Mary. Doesn't work. So Jesus, and so the thing about it, what it shows is that Matthew, again, supposed to be an eyewitness, supposed to be a Hebrew, an Israelite, does not know that Jeconiah line has been banned from the throne, but he knows of Solomon, so he want to connect Jesus to Solomon. If he knew the Old Testament scriptures, then he would have known that in Jeremiah, Jeconiah is a curse put on his line. But this writer of Matthew, who was most likely just a Greek dude who was trying to put this stuff up, didn't know that, so he connected him to Solomon. The writer of Luke, however, was smart enough in the Hebrew to say, you know what? We got to make him through the line of Nathan because there's a curse over there through the line of Solomon. So I'm going to write that he's from Nathan's line. And that's why you get the discrepancies. So this is not Mary's line. This is the line of Joseph, according to Luke, because Luke knew not to put him in Jeconiah's line, whereas Matthew didn't. And Luke admits that he is not an eyewitness of this whole thing, that he is just gathering information. So if the Bible is supposed to be the inspired word of God, then how is it that this inspired word has so many contradictions? Why does this inspired word, why is it not perfect? Should it not be perfect? I mean, this God is supposed to be perfect. If you say that the God the Father is perfect, and that God the Son is perfect, and that the God the Holy Spirit is perfect, then the Holy Spirit would only give perfect inspiration to the men, and to the men who wrote this. And if they did not give perfect inspiration, then you cannot claim that any of this is the word of God. It's just the words of man. And that's it. And then you should also let people know that their prayers and their dreams and all the other bullshit that they have concerning this God, this Bible, is false. It should. I mean, here's the deal. It's just like, and I want you to think about how this is how powerful my energy is. This is how powerful my energy is. I do not reach out to anybody. I don't reach out to people and say, hey, I want you to come onto the show. Or I go out and I find, people, I go to the people who go against my channel, the Christians, and say, send them messages, invite them to the show or anything like that. I don't do any of those things. I don't go to other channels and go against their religion and all this kind of stuff, right? But every time when we're having an important conversation, don't they always seem to show up and demonstrate how their gods is false? We have been on this live for months and months and months on end. And this gentleman who just, his God led him here today. The God of Gentle Lord, who was once a worshiper of Allah. Gentle Lord worshiped Allah, prayed 5 times a day, kept all the rules of Allah, converted over to Christianity, saw Jesus, came down, inspired him to worship Jesus. And in his worship of Jesus, he thought that he understood God, and in understanding God, Gentle Lord, came upon Coach Friends with Deconstructing Christianity. And he said that God had told him that he was whatever he prays for, with no doubt it will come to be. So Gentle Lord said that in order to convert that powerful man of atheism, Coach Friends, to bring him back to God so that God can use him in the ways of God, that I'm going to pray for Coach Friends. I'm going to pray for Miss Big Ups. I'm going to pray for Boss Lady. I'm going to pray for Trauma Aladdin. I'm going to pray for all of them. And the way that I'm going to show God's powerful hand is that I'm going to make the membership, the channel, lose subscribers. I'm going to pray this with fervent prayer. And the channel is going to decrease and decrease and decrease, is what I'm going to pray for. But did it work? He came back on this day when we're disproving that this God actually existed. On this day that we are talking about the discrepancies within the Bible, all these so many discrepancies. He came back. And you know how they like to pray and they start stuttering. And did it work? Did he demonstrate that people would be leaving the channel. No, it did not. It did not show this. As a matter of fact, the channel demonstrates that the channel has continued to grow over these months. He's been praying. That he's been praying that the channel would lose people, that the subscriberships would go down. So let's look at that. Let's take a look. Where is, let's see. So when we let me, because I don't want you to just take my word for it. You know, it's just like they do in the Bible. You gotta go and you gotta look it up. You know, you gotta look it up. Let's share this screen. Now I hope y'all can understand the analytics. Hope you can understand the analytics. So when we look at, and make sure y'all got the big view. Okay, y'all got the big view. When you look at the analytics on the YouTube channel, when it say that this is the last 90 days, over the last 90 days, and especially through September 11 time frame, we had a big spike right there of growth. But over the last 90 days, what we see right in here, you see the mouse right in here, we have an additional 1.7 thousand new members over the last 90 days, 57% more than the previous 90 days. So when Gentle said that the channel was going to lose people, that he was going to pray, and that was going to be the demonstration. Well, as it turns out, you just dead wrong. That your prayers don't work. Your prayers don't have power. I want you to think about it, Gentle. The fact that I produce video after video after video, do live after live after live, that more and more people have been walking away from your religion. More and more people have been joining this channel. And while you've been praying for the demise of the channel's been growing. So what now do you say about your religion when your prayers have been answered? Not your prayer was not answered and you don't know, but the answer to your prayer from your God was no. The answer was no. You saying he speaks to me. I hear his voice. He says, he who believes in me through though he dies shall live. But what about your prayer being answered as no, Gentle? You said the channel was going to be defeated. That all power reigns in your God's hand. Hold on, y'all need to see this. You say that all power reigns in your God's hand, that your weapon formed against you shall prosper, and that when you pray on a thing and you move the mountain, then the mountain will move. But it seems like we're trekking up that mountain because we gained 1,700 new subscriptions, followers on YouTube when you said that we would lose. But it didn't happen that way. Sorry, I can't keep going. Look at the sad part about these, about them, is that you can have it. He made a prophecy. He said he would pray. The answer was no, but yet they still gonna stick to their guns. And as any of y'all know, he will not answer. He is not responding to anything that I am saying. This guy, Gentle, because you're not my Lord, will not respond to the fact that his first statement on here was, has the channel been losing? Because he prayed months ago that the channel would meet its demise and that it will lose people. but yet it has grown in subscribers, but yet he will not acknowledge that your God answer was no, that your prayer came back void. I mean, gentle, can you admit that your prayer came back void? I showed you the evidence that the channel grew during this time frame, that your prayers, and God told you that it would not grow. Can you admit, are you man enough? Are you adult enough to admit that? And that's why y'all are so hilarious to me. Because all he keeps saying is things like, his will is beyond our peanut brain to fathom. No. Your God said that if you pray in confidence, it will happen. He does what he pleases, like any y'all books say that if you pray 2 or 3 gathered together, Jesus is in the midst. That if you don't have any doubt, you tell the mountain to move and the mountain will move. One of the reasons why we walk away from your God is not only because of the factual information that demonstrates that the Bible is filled with contradictions, that it does not, it contradicts history, or falls short of history, but in your right now moments, what the Bible promises finds itself to be void every time. Every time it is void. Oh shoot, my bad. I ain't mean to turn my camera off. But every time it is found void. It doesn't have your Bible just does not ever prove itself to be true. It constantly fails. Constantly fails. But you will pray, oh Lord, help me find my keys. And you find your keys and say that proof of God. But a man is dying of cancer. And I posted this video over the weekend. A man is dying of cancer. Can't afford to get his cancer medicines. So he wants people to thumbs up his page, his post, so that he can get into the monetization of TikTok, which TikTok don't pay worth shit. But he is more dependent on TikTok providing the funds than he is your God. Why? This is why Christians don't debate me, because they know they can't handle it. Because now all this joke, because he know if he was speaking to me, all this crap that he's putting on here, suffering purifies the soul, I would hold his feet to the fire, answer the freaking question. The numbers have been going up. You came on here and stated how you prayed and that haven't the numbers gone down, and they've gone up, and I showed them to you. And you such a punk that you refuse to answer that. That is another reason why I could not deal with Christian, especially, and I know I'm biased as hell, Christian men. Because to me, if you ain't man enough to admit when you are wrong, when you make a mistake, you ain't nothing but a pab. Right? A punk ass bitch. That's all you are. So when you come on this page and you keep on, oh Jesus, this shit, look at it. I bind you in the name of Jesus. If your binding didn't work 3 months ago, what in the 3 levels of hell makes you think your binding gonna work now? If your prayer didn't work 3 months ago, why would your brain think that it's gonna work now? That's the foolishness of this, the belief of belief. I sent out a message to him, and I got a reply saying that, oh, his schedule is booked for the next 2 years. Look at it. Look. He said, wait. He said, I bind you in Jesus' name. I silence you. Why do I? I just put his ass on timeout. So who got the power? If I just put him on timeout, who got the power? He gonna bind me to be silent, but I'm still talking. In Jesus' name, he bind me to be silent. But for the next, I think the silence lasts for like 2 minutes or some shit like that. And all his comments removed. I silenced him for 2 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes is how long it lasts, right? So who got the power? Jesus? If he had the power of Jesus, then he'd be able to say something right now. He should be able to supersede the technology that allows for me to silence people. I think it's like 2 or 3 minutes or some shit like that. I don't know how long it lasts. If anybody knows how long it lasts on YouTube when you silence somebody in the chat. See, these jokers think they got power. They say stuff, think that they can just do and say whatever they want to do and say in Jesus' name. But then we constantly demonstrate that it has no power. It has none whatsoever. And this is interesting. We've been on here. We've been doing this thing. Ain't now one of them Christians stepped up to the challenge of the historical errors of Jesus and more. Oh, let's see what Jumanji. Jumanji.
Hey, what's up? Chuck, what's going on, man?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome back to the channel.
One historical error in Jesus' day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus supposedly had these interactions with all these Pharisees. You know that there was no Pharisees before 70 CE. They didn't come around to the destruction of the temple. So who was Jesus? Who was he talking about? I mean, I'm talking not the Pharisees, the rabbis. Rabbis, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to correct. I knew where you was going. I was going to bring it back. But good.
There was no rabbis until 70 CE when the temple was destroyed. So who was Jesus having discussions with?
Well, and that's just one of the things that demonstrate that none of these things were written until after like 70. These things could not have been written until around the 80s and 90s and so on and so forth, because there was no rabbinical Judaism, as you were saying, until after the temple was destroyed by I was going to say Titus.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, man. So there's a lot of historical inaccuracies in the Gospels that, you know, they couldn't look that up when they were reading it because nobody read it to years after Jesus was gone. So they couldn't look that up, you know, but we know that they do historical things.
Actually, what's sad is that they could have. So one of the things I was saying earlier is that these books, these Gospels are written by Greeks who don't know Hebrew, right? They don't know it that well. And so when they're writing this, they're writing it not from a actual Hebrew person who grew up as, you know, a Pharisee or whatnot, but they're writing this from, I'm a Greek person. I'm trying to develop this religion and I'm going to write about this religion that I started believing in. And they make those kinds of mistakes. But they had the information was there, but it was in Aramaic. It was in Proto-Hebrew. They couldn't read nor understand the Aramaic or the Proto-Hebrew or the context of that information. So that's why they got stuff wrong. Like earlier, I was saying how Matthew got Hosea 11 wrong by thinking that Jesus was supposed to come out of Egypt, when Hosea 11 was actually giving the what they believed to be historical accounts of how Moses came out of Egypt, right? So they had the information, but they were too lazy or they were nowhere near the site of all that stuff. And so then they would not have had that information.
Yeah, right. Facts. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, the people who would have, when they wrote those texts, it would have been like a whole generation off.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like to even go back to the people who supposedly witnessed that, they would have been gone.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going off these letters and stuff like that. You know, I mean, you know, to go back to that time and talk about a guy named Jesus going through that here preaching, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if the Romans would even focusing on that unless he was bringing up revolt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People doing it, but you know, I'm just saying that when they had the gospel and stuff, you would have been listening to something that happened in your grandparents' day.
Exactly.
You know?
And when I listen, so my pappy was born in 1927, right? So when he was recounting to me about people and things that happened in the 40s, because I'm gonna give him to you in the 40s when he's 20 something years old, his memory in 1997, in 2000, his memory of what was happening in the 40s is going to be vague as hell, right? It's not going to be incredibly detailed. There's only a few things that he's going to be detailed. He's going to hit and miss on a bunch of stuff. He's going to have a bunch of stuff all jacked up, to which I know he actually did have a bunch of things jacked up. Few things were on point, but most of the back in the day stuff, nah, he was telling me stuff that I was like, did that really happen like that? Is that what was really going on? You know what I mean? So, like, he had his perspective on Martin King Jr. because he lived on the same street as he did, right? But his interaction with him was only that it was like in the community. But he was like, I ain't marching with you, you know, because I went to Korea, damn it, and I'd be damn, stick a dog on me, I'm gonna kill the dog. So he had one little perspective of Martin just in that respect. He had perspectives on the city of Atlanta. You know, he had perspectives on the building of the highway and how they split and messed up communities. But it was vague as hell. Is what I keep repeating, getting at is that all these things are incredibly vague and sometimes not as accurate as he thinks that they are. And so how can these guys think they're giving accurate information down to the words where you're quoting someone? Come on,
man. Man. Yeah, that's real talk, man. Yeah, I just want to come up and bring that up there, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, keep on doing what you're doing, man.
No, I appreciate it, because I forgot to write that down as one of my notes, that there was no rabbinical Judaism during the time frame of Jesus. So they wouldn't have been using some of those terminologies of calling him, you know, rabbi. That wouldn't have been part of their vocabulary.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I forgot to write that part down, but I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right. Appreciate you. Yeah, I forgot about that part. I meant to write that. I knew it was something. It's actually a few things that I was going to write down that I know I forgot. Right. And think about it. I'm forgetting to write down stuff that I researched, that I re-researched yesterday. I went over this stuff yesterday again, and I still forgot to write some stuff down. And that was just yesterday. And these people, and you want to believe that these people, that Luke is talking to these people 50 years, 60 years after the events happened, and he getting it correct? Let me give you an example of how idiotic some of this stuff is. I want y'all to think about this. Many Christians will say that, well, let me rephrase. Do you guys know what apostolic succession is? I was doing some research on apostolic succession over the weekend. I just got a little deep because for some reason, you know, TikTok kept showing me these videos over and over again about a couple of individuals. And I was like, that's some bullshit. And so I went into a deep dive into apostolic succession, right? So for those who don't know, apostolic succession is the fact that they say that the apostles had chosen people that they taught, and those people taught the next generation, and that person taught the next generation, and so on and so forth, until you get into all your church fathers and your popes and so on, you know, all that bullshit. Now, one of the main ones that they hinge on is John, right? And you would think it would be James the Just, since the Bible says that, you know, they in the Bible and in the non-canonical Bibles, it says that after Jesus, go to James the Just. But one of the main ones they hinge on, other than the Paulinian, is John, because Polycarp supposedly learned directly from John. And then Polycarp taught Irenaeus. And so Irenaeus, and then the line just continues to go up and up and up. And so they're saying that since John taught Polycarp, Polycarp taught Irenaeus, and then you keep going and you get through Augustine and Jerome and all these people, that line of succession demonstrates a continued teaching of the same thing. But here's what's interesting. Polycarp never claimed that he was taught by John. Now, he would have lived during that time frame. John supposedly died at 99 CE. Polycarp at best would have been about 20 years old, talking to an old ass John. So it would have been like how I was in my mid to late 20s, talking to my 77, 80-year-old Pappy, but that he was learning. So imagine how I'm talking to my 77-year-old Pappy at 27, 28. I'm learning from him. That's how it would have worked with Polycarp and John. Old man teaching the young man, but the old man is teaching you about things that he supposedly experienced when he was a young man. And he's telling him word for word stuff. But Polycarp never said that he learned from John. It was Ignatius who said that Polycarp had learned from John, that he was a disciple, that he was a direct disciple of John. And the church will say that, well, the reason why Polycarp never said that he was teaching, he was from John, that he learned from John, is because the local people would have known that he learned from John, right? That would be like the local people knowing who my teachers were, right? Like the people I went to high school with, them motherfuckers don't know who my teacher were unless they was in the same class. Like my brother who went to, he don't know who my teachers, he know the teachers in the school, but he don't know what teachers I went through. But Ignatius said that, oh yeah, Polycarp, yeah, it's John. He learned from John. And so Irenaeus was like, yeah. And I learned from Polycarp. Polycarp learned from John. So I have authority. And that's what the whole apostolic succession is. It is them trying to claim authority by saying that I learned directly from an apostle, or I learned directly from somebody who learned directly from an apostle, or somebody who learned from somebody who learned from somebody who learned from somebody who learned from an apostle. It's the man sitting next to the man, sitting next to the man, sitting next to the man who called your piccolo player a motherfucker. Is basically what that is. So there is actually zero proof that Polycarp learned from John. So the idea of apostolic succession is based on an assumption, but that assumption is based on people just saying these things in order to have some type of faith. Why do I watch this? Y'all watch this? I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing this till he go away. No, I ain't gonna do that to him. Look, he not came back. I cancel every attack in Jesus' name. Yet I silenced you, but you couldn't silence me. Isn't that something? The only reason I'm gonna leave you up here is because obviously everybody else likes picking on you right now, or jumping on your ass gentle. Otherwise, I silence your ass again, just to prove a point. I'm still talking. I mean, I be talking that, but when he leaves. Anyway, so apostolic succession, and Paul does the same thing. The Paulinian teachings, he does the same thing. Paul knows that he cannot, whoever this Paul is, which I don't think Paul ever existed, but Paul is, the writings of Paul is basically saying that I'm going to claim authority by saying that I had this Bacchae experience. You see, the Bacchae had been a popular play for 300 years, right? Kind of like how the Shakespeare plays have been a popular play. Othello has been a popular play for hundreds of years now. The Bacchae was a Greek play that was popular for hundreds of years. And so in the story of the Bacchae, you have where a person who is a denier and a persecutor of the people of the followers of Dionysus was on a road and was confronted by Dionysus. Why you persecuting? Why you messing with my people? Why you don't believe in me? Why you doing all this bullshit? And then he flips the script and like, oh shit, Dionysus, you real, and I'm gonna stop messing with your people, and now I'm going to become a follower of Dionysus. And so the Paul story is pretty much the same as that, with the addition of what I was reading over the weekend, which is the teacher of righteousness, which has a Paulinian-like character who actually plays the Judas role in the biblical story. So they kind of split the character in the teacher of righteousness to one being Judas and one being Paul, right? And I got to study it some more, which I'm going to study it some more today as far as the teacher of righteousness. So don't ask me any questions about it. But that's how, by claiming authority, this is what they still do in the church. This is what Gentle is on here doing. I hear God speaking to me. I had a vision of God. God came to me in a dream. I had a near-death experience and I saw Jesus and God. So they're trying to claim authority by saying that they've had something that is beyond the norm. God spoke to them. God came to them in a dream. God showed them in a vision. They had a near-death experience and God told them X, Y, and Z. And so now they're here to try to tell you. And people believe it. People fall for it. And this is what Paul does. This is what the apostolic succession does. This is what Gentle just came on here and did, but yet, unfortunately, he was proved to be wrong. But the hold is so tight on them that people can do this and be shown to be incorrect, and these people will not leave them. They will stick with them. Think about it. These jokers have molested children. They stick with them. They cheat on their spouse. Stick with them. They steal your money. Stick with them. You wind up dying and you not gave all to these organizations. They stick with them. That is how desperate people are to have a religious belief. To believe that there is something beyond this life where they can escape their pain and their horror, instead of recognizing that you can escape your pain and your horror by doing the freaking work necessary, making the decisions necessary, having the discipline to go through this shit and get it done. You tired of being broke? Stop spending more money than you make yourself more marketable in the marketplace, and invest your money so that you get a return on your investment. If you're tired of being broke, you tired of getting sick all the time, start eating healthy. Yeah, it's going to cost you some more money. So you need to get to that whole budget thing that I just said. And then you need to start eating healthy, start exercising. Even if it's just you sitting there and you got to lift your leg, lift your arm, you do your chair workout. From the chair workout, you do some weights. From the weights, you do some walking, and then you do some weights. So do some walking, then do some weights. Then you just stay active. Start playing things. Pickleball. I don't know if you want to play pickleball. Go play pickleball. Go do something. Be active in your day, and you won't get sick. You won't get sick. Start eating naturally, and you won't get sick. Right? You start doing those things, and you'll be better. You got problems in your relationship? Stop dealing with the symptom. Dig down to the root of the issue. Figure out what the root problem is. Fix the root problem, and you won't have these symptomatic problems in your relationship. See, all this, just go pray to God. Figure out the root cause of anything and then reverse engineer it, and you will be able to alleviate the symptoms of whatever that root cause is, whether it's your money, your relationship, your health, whatever it is. And guess what? Life starts to be divine, starts to be great. You start having more ups than downs, because anytime a down happens, you handle it. You make a bad decision, You dig into the root, you handle it. And then because you see what the results are of those types, you don't do it again, or you minimize it. You have preparations for it. Mm-hmm. You don't need this God. You can have heaven right now. Because guess what? Ain't no heaven promised to you, because ain't no proof of any heaven. Ain't no hell promised to you either, because there's no promise, there's no proof of any hell. And that's why they stay stuck. They stuck on stupid, because they ain't afraid of hell. They are so deathly afraid of hell that they stay stuck. They have to hold on. These pastors, it reminds me of what, and I'm not trying to be political, but it reminds me of what Trump said. He said, I can go and kill somebody in the middle of Times Square and they will still vote for me. That man said that if I ever wanted to run for president, I would run as a Republican because they're stupid. They plastered that shit all over and they still voted for him. That's the human mind. That is the human mind. A man says I can shoot somebody in the middle of Times Square, they're going to still vote for me. A man says that they stupid. And that's who I would deal with because they will vote for me. Think about that's Christianity. Hell, that's all religions, actually. All these religions are the same way in that understanding. They all do that. And they know that if they get you while you're young, they got you forever. They got you. And the worst part about it, it's like they all on the same team. They all teach, let's get them while they're young. Get them while they're young. Because even if we lose you when you get older, all you're going to do is go to the other side. Oh, Islam ain't right. You become Christian. Oh, Christianity ain't right. You become Muslim. Oh, Christianity and Islam, neither one of them right. You become Buddhist. You become Hindu. Oh, Hinduism ain't right. I'm gonna become a Buddhist. Hinduism ain't right. I'm gonna become a Muslim. I'm gonna become a Christian. All they doing is flip-flopping. That's it. They never ever look in the one place that they should look. Matter of fact, I'm finna convert some. I don't know when. I don't know who. Let me convert some people to Hinduism. Let me tell you a story. Because I know that there are many of you out there. Whether you listen to this today or you're listening to this at any day in the future. But many of you out there, you have tried Christianity, it hasn't worked for you. You've tried Islam, it hasn't worked for you. But there is one place that you have not looked. So there was a time frame when man had his Godhead, but in man's Godhead, man was destructive with his Godhead. And so all the gods decided to have a godly council, and they came together in this council. And your Bible speaks of, this godly councils many times, since the Bible is not everything, but in Job, there's the godly council. In Genesis, there's the godly council. In many other books, there's this godly council. In Kings, there's a godly council where the people were divvied out. Well, this godly council was being handled, and your Bible has never told you this, but the godly council was being handled, and they say, well, man is disruptive with his divinity. He's destructive with his divinity. And then many of the gods said, oh, well, where should we hide it? We need to take the Godhead from man, and we need to hide this Godhead from man. And some said, let's hide it in the bottom of the sea. And Brahma said, no. If you were to hide it in the sea, one day man will dive deep in the sea and find it. Well, another said, well, let's dig underground and hide it in the ground. He said, no, one day man will dig in the earth and he will find it. Another said, let's put it on the highest mountain. And Brahma said, no, one day man will climb the highest mountain, and again, he will find it. So with all the other gods being dumbfounded as to where to hide man's godhead because man was just so disruptive, Brahma said, we should hide man's godhead in the one place man will never look, and that is inside himself. So they hid it inside of man, and since that time frame, man has never been able to discover his godhead. But now the only way for man to discover his godhead is to worship Brahma, because Brahma is the truth, the light, and the way. Through his incarnations as Krishna, it has been demonstrated that he is here to guide man, and he's on his 13th iteration right now. So if Christianity haven't done it for you, if Judaism hasn't done it for you, if Islam has not done it for you, man, you are trying to find your Godhead. And go on over to Hinduism and see if you can find it over there, because Brahma has hid it within inside of you. It is only through looking inside yourself can you find your Godhead. Because they can't help but to find one religion and go to the next religion, because if you are still looking to have a religion, if you still got to have something outside yourself, you still got to have a God, at least get you a God that's telling you to look inside yourself. Hop on over to the Hinduism. Hop on over there. And then one day you will find that Hinduism ain't doing it for you either. And then when you find that Hinduism is no longer doing it for you, well, there was a Hindu prince. And he knew that he was born special. His mother had a dream that he would go through he would have a special birth. And through that dream of that special birth, she knew that the child would either become a great religious man or become a great king. Well, as he got older, his father would not let him outside the castle. So he never experienced life because he wanted him to be a great king. And then he got for him a wife. And when he had a wife, they made love on the rooftop, and they was making love so wildly that they fell off the rooftop. And then one day she got pregnant. His wife got pregnant. They had a child. And he named his child Shackles because he recognized that now he is shackled to his family. So he went out for a carton of milk. And y'all know what that means. And when he went out for a carton of milk, he witnessed a poor man. He witnessed an old man, and he witnessed a sick man. So in his witnessing of people after sneaking out of the council, he realized suffering is the problem. And so he joined the ascetic movement and thought that if you suffered enough, you would attain Godhead. You would gain the Buddha mind. And so he went through the ascetic life, but just didn't quite get there. Then one day, while meditating and sitting under a Bodhi tree, a young girl came and saw this man who had been living off of 1 grain of rice a day and a dewdrop of water a day, offered him a bowl of food. And just out of love, she offered a bowl of food, and he accepted it. And when he ate that bowl of food, sitting under the Bodhi tree, nirvana happened. The Buddha mind was grasped. He saw all the demons come up against him and realized that they were creations of his own mind, and that it is not through suffering that someone attains the Buddha mind, but it is through enjoying the beauties of life, but not holding on tight to them, that one attains the Buddha mind. So he became the first Buddha. That man's name is Siddhartha Gautama, something like that. So when Hinduism ain't doing it for you, you go over and you just get into the flow and understanding of the Buddha mind, and that getting rid of desires is the way to. It's not suffering, but just not having desires for earthly attachments, but enjoying what has been provided. That's how you get there, and not interfering with someone else. That's how you get there. But then when Buddhism doesn't get you there, one of the greatest Buddhist minds of all time, Lao Tzu, who realized that it is not about suffering, nor is it about denying yourself desires, but it is simply getting into the flow of the way. That there is an energy force in the universe that flows. And when you fight against that flow, that's when you find yourself being placed in that hellscape. But understanding the flow and being part of the flow, all things will be handed down to you. You see, the moment you he realized that the moment you give the way a name, the moment you put it in the book, the moment you give it characteristics, it is no longer the way because you've minimized it just to that little small thing. And so he gave great examples. There was a raging river. Many men tried to cross this river because everybody wanted to get directly to the other side. Everybody knew that it was a death sentence to try to get into the river. So many would jump into the river and they would swim against the river, the flow of the river, trying to get to the other side, but they would make no headway and eventually they would drown and their bodies dead flow down the river. And then for decade after decade after decade, many, many young men would die. And then one old man decided he wanted to get to the other side of the river. So he jumped into the river after everybody was warning him, don't do it, Grandpa, don't do it, don't do it. But he jumped into the river and his body just immediately swept down the river and everyone thought that he was dead. But then a few hours later, on the other side of the river, they saw the old man walking up the embankment directly at the other side. And they asked him, hey, Grandpa, how'd you get to the other side? And he yelled back, instead of trying to fight against the flow of the river, I allowed the river to take me down the river, slowly making my way across in the flow of the river until it pooled and the raging rapids stopped and I was able to get across the river. And then I walked my happy ass up the other side. Go with the flow of the universe. And one day you'll see that Taoism is just a philosophy. It's not even a religion. And you'll realize you don't need a God. I don't know what the hell y'all been talking about. I was having me a good old time right now. But these people just need to go from one religion to another religion. Just like this guy on here, Gentle, had to become he was probably born Christian into a Christian family or Christian or a nation that emphasizes Christianity, but was disenfranchised by it and then became Muslim and then went back to Christianity. I doubt very seriously if he started out Muslim, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. You know, they say what a person, where's that comment? Shit. Does deconstruction ever end? Yeah, I mean, I've deconstructed. I was done a long time ago. This is a good question, though, actually, Rupert. Does deconstruction ever end? Yes, it does. Are you going to deconstruct for the rest of your life? Not really. No, I've deconstructed. There is nothing else in Christianity for me to deconstruct from. Once you've gotten past the emotional connections that you have with Christianity, you are no longer deconstructing. And you ask what happens after you finish deconstructing. For most people, they just go on and live their lives and enjoy the hell out of their lives without all the judgment, the pressure, without all those false beliefs, without thinking that they are filthy rags and all that. And they go on and have happier lives than people who are still in religions. Now, for those like myself, a teacher, so to speak, I continue to talk about it and help other people who are in the process. I have zero emotional attachments to this religion. And if I choose to one day to not teach anymore, I would just stop and continue to enjoy my life, which it amazes me that people come on here and think that, man, you spend so much of your time on. No, I don't really. I spend very little time on this in comparison to how I spend the rest of my life. Out of Babylon, you are inspiring me to do another Financially on Fire webinar, because I think you need it. I think you need the webinar. He says, I just see the problem. Atheists make fun of God and religion because they pay bills like everyone else. Everyone in the world pays some type of bill. Everyone in the world purchases through one method or another. The difference is some people it's easy, some people it's not easy. Some people struggle, some people don't struggle. I think you need to take my Financially on Fire class because you are very anti-money, but you will never ever get rid of some type of exchange. Money, the idea of money, the concept of money will always be as it has for the overwhelming majority of man's history. So I think you need to take the Financially on Fire seminar. I think I might need to rev that up again. It's been a good 6 months. I think I think you need that. I don't know who I was talking to whom. This is perhaps I can ask about the claim that the gospel is perfectly aligned. They don't. It was a debate I had with someone earlier today in your comment section. Okay, I thought that was something towards me. Well, it was, but the gospels aren't perfectly aligned. They are definitely contradict each other. He said, "Who is the Messiah today?" I don't know. Oh, such Christian rudeness. Shut your pie hole and listen. Oh, what happened to all those being humble and peaceful? Oh, you peaceful Christians. Y'all Christians can be so violent. Oh, Christians are so violent. Just getting on here being all violent towards people, telling them to shut the pie hole. So much Christian love in the room. I just feel the love of Christianity. It's always interesting. Religious people resort to violence so quickly. So quickly. And this is an interesting thing they always put in. Sorry, I meant that one. They say repent. What do I have to repent from? There is nothing to repent from. The only way I can sin is I would have to do something against your God. But yet, since I don't believe in your God and your God does not exist, then there is no sin that is committed. So therefore, there is nothing for me to repent from because your God doesn't exist. You need to repent. I mean, and if your God exists, if your God exists, then multiple gods exist because you all have the same claim. Then you need to repent towards all the other gods that you don't believe in. Just saying. I get my. It's interesting. We just usually we get some. This. I just knew this prompt was gonna get some of the Christians coming on here, but y'all, they scared. They scared to come up here. Y'all do that. Y'all do know, Tim, that Fred is just here as an attention seeker. He actually has no intellectual validity to argue with about anything. Yeah, you've fallen into his trap. All he wants is attention. That's it. That's it. Just attention. What? Does anybody have any questions about what we talked about today? Or what I talked about today? Because if y'all don't, I will go on about my business and enjoy the rest of my day. My Hawks will be playing again tonight. We're playing the Los Angeles Clippers. We're gonna beat their butt with and we don't even have everybody. Because they're going to continue to make their claims without any evidence. And that's all it is. That's why I don't argue belief. There is no point in arguing with someone who all they have is belief. They will never be able to provide for you any evidence. And providing evidence of the Bible from the Bible is an echo chamber. It's a circular argument, which is invalid. You can never have a circular argument. I am. Put your hand up. Put one of your hands up. Oh, I see who this is. All right. You know, I got to check, man. Somebody hacked my little thing the other day. So we got to check these things out.
My people are very vicious. They come to you without proof of my existence. I am soon going to be putting them back into the slavery that they deserve, as they are not truly trusting and honoring me. I have told them to come with 2 or 3 witnesses for all things, and here we have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John not even able to get the story straight. So they're going straight to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 shekels.
Are you going to reinstitute sacrifices?
Oh, slavery, genocide for all. Yes, of course, absolutely. I am the great I am. My morals are arbitrary to what I decide on that day. So if I see you smoking a cigar, well, I might throw your channel into hell upon my son's name, you know? Great stuff. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, you're doing a quality job up there teaching my children how I am not actually real and just a figment of their imagination, much like an imaginary little friend. Yes. So let's speak on this genealogy issue here. See, you can't have a genealogy from a father and a mother if the father is me. So that genealogy is complete and utter bullshit, because I am not from anybody on that list except out of their delusional mind. So I guess technically, yeah, there is that. And furthermore, when my son went down to Egypt, he probably was hanging out with Philo of Alexandria, but Philo realized that Jesus was such a little bitch that, yeah, he didn't even mention him in a single fucking writing, because Philo was telling the truth about the existence of nothingness and the Lord. Yeah, the Lord, people, the Lord. The Lord was there at the beginning, but the Lord is not Jesus Christ, you dumbasses. Read your books and read your understandings a little bit better, you fucking dumbass Christians. Why did I even open up the Vine to you, you swine?
Well, isn't it because you wanted to love everybody? Or were you just want to love your children?
Well, that was that day. Today, I realized they're kind of fucking retarded. And I mean slowed in thought, so don't get your panties in a bunch.
So you should have stuck just to your special group of people.
Oh, I'm definitely saying like Flood 2.0. Like maybe I'll just knock out a couple of dams on the United States border. Maybe Kabul. Come in with a couple of my dancing small hat friend wearing people. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wait, but
yes.
you promised Noah that you wouldn't flood the earth again.
Well, Noah was kind of a bitch, and that was that day. And I just said that to really like pacify him. That way he wouldn't whine on the ship and be like, you're just gonna fucking do this again, God. So why did you have me do all this and go through all of this? Was this to show your glory? And I'm gonna be like, yep, you son of a bitch, I did it. And just like I'm gonna throw your people into whales' bellies. Yep, you son of a bitch, I did it.
So
I did it.
You're gonna destroy the world again. Are you gonna save anybody? I mean, like if I build a boat.
Well, come on, man. I could put my people into slavery and genocide right there in front of you, right there in the book you're currently not reading as a Christian, and you'd still fucking vote for me. Best God for Slavery 101, Genocide 2000.
Well, who's gonna be the slaves this time?
Oh, all of you guys. You're all fucked.
Everybody's a slave. We just gonna go back to where everybody was enslaving everybody. Is that what we're gonna go back to?
No, you're all gonna be my bitches.
Oh. So why don't you just make us like take away our free will so that we?
Oh, you have none of that. That's at my discretion. Just read your little book.
Oh, so you made us to be made some of us to be destructive, and some of us not. Some of us to choose you, and some of us not.
Sir, why would an ant be walking if not for the magnifying glass that I hold?
So we're just your
consider thy servant Job, sir.
Yeah, you kind of screwed him over, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, fuck that guy! I don't care if he was blameless in my sight. That just means I couldn't see him and had to magnify it a little bit more. Took away his kids. Yeah.
You sound kind
but I gave them back. Kind of.
Well, you didn't give them back. You kind of like
technicalities. I gave him more than what he had. They were kind of bitches anyways. They complained and partied way too much. They were worshiping other gods like Magog and Moloch and Frank and Benny. Frank and Benny, those are the two worst guys. We're up here in the Pantheon and they won't shut the fuck up. They're like, I just don't like them guys.
Well, that sounds more like how Enlil was irritated that man was making too much noise and he couldn't take a nap. So are you Enlil?
Hey. We aren't getting into the fact that I have a lot of similarities to Enlil.
But
we aren't. No. If we can't talk about my bags and my watches, we can't talk about the similarities.
But you sound like Enlil.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's my wrath and my discretion, guys.
But if
read like your book.
Then you have a daddy named Anu.
No. Wait. So you got the story all wrong. I'll have to have them rewrite that shit. Maybe in a different translation. I mean, we're up to 3,500. Hey, Peter, start writing a new translation and send it down to the craziest motherfucker out there. They'll all believe it. It's from me. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I guess we're all just doomed.
Hang on. Have them go into the desert and get my revelation instead of going to where the people had firsthand connection to my little bitch boy. That's way better, way more accurate to what the Bible says with 2 or 3 witnesses. All right, cool. Thanks. Talk to you later. Got to get back to this. All right, I'm back. Sorry. I got to instruct my minions.
Okay. You stupid, man.
No. How are you gonna call? I will curse your fucking channel down to 0 people.
I mean, but Gentle, he already prayed for that, and
I heard him.
but the numbers went up.
Well, just because I heard him doesn't mean I give a fuck what they say.
But you said that according to your book, you said that if they pray to you,
No. See, you're missing it. You're missing it. My morals are arbitrary. They're how does that go? They're very subjective to whoever's writing the book. So like when I just sent my homeboy over there to go rewrite the book, guess who I'm going to send it to?
Who you send it to?
The homeboy in the fucking chat.
Oh. So when he made that prayer, you just was like, you're not paying attention to his prayer.
No, I'm just going to send him a new doctrine and a new covenant.
So that he won't doubt
Fuck what I said before.
Wow. So his
that was then. This is now. Keep up, buddy. Things are changing.
That was only like 2-3 months ago.
That's beside the point. That was like, we're talking minute to minute. A minute is like 1,000 years for me, dude. Like, I'm really old.
You said that you're unchanging.
Unchanging in my changingness, duh.
How can you be unchanging in your changingness? That would mean that you just change.
Well, there is no constant. There is no thing that is constant but change.
But if you changing is the constant, not you being unchanged is the constant.
All right. So maybe my people wrote it one way and I'm saying a different way, but I'm God, so that's okay because my morals are subjective.
But if your morals are subjective, then how can we have absolute morals?
Because if you don't have absolute morals, I'll throw you into slavery.
Because you said don't murder, but yet if murder is subjective,
I said for you not to murder. My homeboy Satan, now I made that motherfucker to murder based off of my command,
but
not yours, my command.
So who commanded the Israelites to kill all the boys, the young boys and the women who've known a man and the old men, but keep the young girls as their wives? Who told them to do that murder?
They forgot to take those books out.
So when they
and that was then, this is now. I'm a God of love now. I changed my ways. I got baptized in my own Holy Spirit.
So
I was like, baptize me.
So you baptize yourself in the name of yourself, son, and yourself spirit, so that you can repent to yourself.
Oh yeah, and that repentance, let me tell you, buddy. Woo-hoo-hoo. That spirit does that same thing he was doing to Mary, like gets all up in there.
Yeah, and about that. Why did you choose a girl who was like 14 years old? Why didn't you choose a grown woman?
See, I left it up to, Jesus.
I mean, but in today's, you had to have known in today's time, we would view you diddling a 14-year-old girl as a bad thing. But
that whole girl. Come on, man. See, now you're putting me into a corner where I'm looking like a pedophile god, and that's just not cool. Because as a pedophile god, I would be kind of more like the God of the Old Testament. And this is a new covenant. I see, I'm changing my ways, but Jesus wanted to go molest that guy or that girl.
Oh, so the you that's the son wanted to molest. So Boss Lady got a question for you. If you can see it, can you see Boss Lady's question? I'll read it. I got a question for you, God. What the fuck you be where the fuck you be at, man? The world is burning and you don't give one fuck about it. You ain't shit.
All right. Well, boss lady, let me address you specifically. Do you remember how my fallen angels came down and they were like looking at the women? Can you pull her back up?
Oh, hold on. I will obey God. Yes, let me obey you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't want to get burnt.
Okay. So do you remember that story? How they looked upon the women and they found them very beautiful? Well, I'm about to bring you up to heaven and have a conversation with you and set you straight.
Wait, hold on, whoa, hold on, God. To bring her up in the heaven, are you going to do it like Enoch or Elijah? Bring her up, keep her alive, and maybe bring her back down? Or are you going like
more like I'm gonna look to create? Jesus needs to come back, so I'm looking for a new Mary.
Look, wait. Are you?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, she's asking where I'm at, so I'm gonna show her where I'm at. Anyways,
I mean, hold on.
and just like my Christians, I'm going to make sure that even if she doesn't want it, like they pray for us, even though we don't want it, we're still gonna get what we want. Boom. I am God.
I know she's looking all cute on that picture. So are you saying that you're only bringing her up there because she's looking cute, got her hair did and everything, and you want to do a little Maryisms on her?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. For I am a jealous God, and you will not serve any other gods but me. So, boss lady, sorry.
What if she don't want to be diddled like Mary?
I don't care. I'm God. Just like my servants, the Christians will pray for you without your consent. In fact, because I would say, my definition of what I consider the sin of rape is forcing yourself, because love is patient and love is kind. Love is gentle. It is not self-loathing. It is not envious, and it never fails. So obviously, if it's anything outside of that, I'm going to definitely throw you into fucking hell. And forcing yourself and notice my ability to change so very quickly, going from like it's good to it's bad. That's my God complex here. Because, the situation is arbitrary because, morals are a cope. Just go right around it. So anyways, boss lady, you're gorgeous. You'll be on your way here shortly. I'll send Archangel Michael down to grab you up. I'll send you the nice limo. It'll be like what's that movie? Since you're merely a mere mortal, it'll be kind of like that. Because this is how I see the humans. What's that one where he hires the lady of the night for the evening, and it's an older movie, and he gets her nice dress and everything like that. It's got that really, she's another hottie.
Indecent Proposal?
Something like that. I think that might be it. Anyways, gorgeous.
Pretty lady.
Anyways, woman. I'll see you.
You're talking about Pretty Woman.
Yes, Pretty Woman. Right.
You're supposed to know these things. You're God. How do you not know the movie?
I can't keep up with my creation. You guys are too fast for me. I mean, I've got the cosmos to take care of. I only consider like the hotties. That's the ones that the fact that I remembered it that far is miraculous. You should be blessed that I have been blessing you with I'm giving you more than I gave that bitch Moses.
Okay, I appreciate it. Well, the great I am, I'm glad to have you here. I appreciate you very much for being here and letting us know your true ways.
My ways are confusing.
I'm sure there'll be a cult developed to believe in Boss Lady, as she's going to become the new Mary or the new Asherah. She says she lives in Vegas, so I guess you're going to.
You can bet your Asherah she is.
Well, we greatly appreciate this interview. Oh shit. We're gonna have to do
Oh,
that.
and Fred,
We're gonna have to
Fred
do
down there in the chat, you are not part of anything that I'm doing, but you're part of everything that I'm doing. Sir, get out of my asshole as much as you are. You're like a hemorrhoid up there. Just Jesus. My son is gonna condemn you to hell.
that.
You're
Yeah.
down there mentioning me in comments now. I can see it now. Jesus Christ. My son is literally going to butt fuck you, dude. Down in heaven. Down in hell. Down in heaven. It's all the fucking same. There ain't no proof for any of it. And you're kind of slowed down in thought, more commonly known in the 1980s and 90s as being retarded.
Well, I appreciate you. Is it with your permission? May I go to the next caller? Because I don't want to get.
Only if
I don't
they
wanna get
worship
big.
me. Or don't worship me. That's it's your fucking show. You have all the fucking control. I have no control. That's the truth. God damn me, damn it. Peace.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here present with that interview with God, the great I am. Now, in order to continue with that, we're going to talk to a force wielder here, with many midichlorians. Obi-Wan Kenobi, may the force be with you.
The force is with you, sir. Y'all cutting up this morning, man.
Amen. Hey.
We got a visit. Got a visit from the I am, huh?
Yeah, the I am visited us today. And obviously got his eyes set on Boss Lady.
Hey, you might have a what they call it? A holy conception.
I know. I don't know if she's ready for that.
Hey, you get chosen. It ain't if you're ready or not.
Well, yeah, like he said, your opinion of it don't matter. He's gonna snatch you up and you're gonna do whatever he wants you to do.
That's right. Yeah, man. Now I was just calling. I was listening. But because I wanted to ask you with Jesus as far as like his historicity. Me, I don't really know too much about. I've done research just on my own, just trying to see if the biblical figure was actually someone who existed at some point in time. I don't believe in the whole the events or the acts, the miracles and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen I guess it's an argument that, oh yeah, there was a person that existed at some point in time that possibly was Jesus, and there's some people who say, well, there's no evidence of the person. Um, I don't know what side of the fence you're on with that, you know what I mean, as far as like the historicity of the person, because most of the time when people talk about Jesus, they're talking about the events straight from the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like straight from the Bible. They're not really talking about stuff outside. There's no witness accounts of, touching. Well, there's no, from what I understand, there's no historical record events of him or anybody touching someone and making them see if they were blind, or just healing people by laying hands and stuff like that.
So, do you think that Jesus existed?
Think?
Let me ask this in two parts. Do you think the biblical Jesus existed?
No, I do not at all.
Okay. Do you think that there was a messianic preacher in the first century that the story is based off of? Didn't do none of the miracle shit, but just somebody who was claiming to be a Messiah.
It's not that I think that there is some. There may be a possibility, but I haven't even seen anything that really says that person existed either.
Okay. So yeah, there is the logical and conclusion that there may have been that there was somebody who was teaching a different version of Judaism who was claiming to be the Messiah, but there was a bunch of them who was doing this, but all of them if they were teaching from the Jewish perspective, then that messianic leader would not have been just this Jesus type. It would have been someone who was trying to start a revolt. So we have many revolts that were started by people who claiming to be the Messiah.
Mm-hmm. I've
So
heard that. Now that I've heard, yes, about the revolt.
A peaceful Jesus, a peaceful one? No, there's no evidence of a peaceful one. All evidence points to violent Jesuses. And
So
that's just evidence. There's no direct.
So was Jesus a title for a Messiah, or are you saying that these people were their name was like Yehoshua or whatever?
Yeah, Yeshua was a very popular name. It was as popular as the name John or Smith or something like that. So it was a very popular name. Right?
Okay.
And so to have someone named Yeshua trying to start a revolt, sure, you can get that. That's acceptable. But all of this happening, and Pontius Pilate killed a bunch of people who were claiming to be the Jewish Messiah while he was the governor of Judea. I mean, to the point where he was so vicious with the Sumerian revolts and the way he was killing people who claimed to be messiahs that even the Emperor Tiberius was like, dude, you killing too many people. I'm arresting you. And so he had to come back home to Rome because he was killing too many people, being too cruel, I should say. So there's a lot of the majority of the circumstantial evidence does provide that there were people claiming to be the Messiah, but that was happening when they were under Greek control. So this was happening for centuries. So from like the 2nd century BCE, well, actually from the 3rd century BCE all the way up to 1st century, you had people claiming to be the Messiah. And even after the 1st century, in the 2nd century and 3rd century CE, you still had people claiming to be the Jewish Messiah.
As like returned, or is it like returning from the dead?
No, they were claiming to be like, you have Jewish revolts that were still happening, after the whole Jesus story was gaining popularity. You still had Jewish people claiming that, nope, I'm the Messiah, and starting revolts against Rome.
So what would they claim? What would they claim the past person who claimed to be, they claim to be false?
Failed messiahs, yeah. All Yeshuas in 1st century, the Israelites would have claimed that they were false messiahs, the same way that they claim Jesus is a false messiah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because none of them achieved the goal of what the Messiah is supposed to do. The Messiah is supposed to bring in a new era of domination of the Israelites, where all nations will fall under their domain and the priesthood would be reestablished and they would never go without sacrifices. But of course, none of that could have ever happened since the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed in 70. No one could fulfill that. Now, they could have fulfilled it if they knew their own story. If they recognized that during the Assyrian occupation, that's when Hezekiah and Josiah removed temple worship from all other places except for Jerusalem. And they are the ones and these men decided that all temple worship has to happen in Jerusalem. When prior to that, with Joshua established that every town would have their own temple, have their own Levitical priests, and they would be able to do sacrifices in their own towns. But because the Assyrians destroyed and kicked all their asses, they moved all worship to Jerusalem. And then from the time frame of about 600 BCE up until present day, their mindset says that the only place that this can happen is in Jerusalem. But that wasn't the original plan. The original plan was that every town would have their own temple and do their own sacrifices.
Okay,
So they don't even know their own history.
That was like non-biblical, right? You're saying that was what was decided, just like for those people that were claiming to be Christians at that time in history. That's not a Bible story, is it?
Well, this has nothing to do with Christianity. This is Judaism. And this is now, it's in the Old Testament of Hezekiah and Josiah moving all of it to Jerusalem. But that was something they did. It doesn't say that this God commanded them to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because it's even the whole thing with Jesus being a king, like the king of the Jews and all that stuff. Like, I mean, I know there's different depictions of Jesus in different stories, different books from the canon and the Apocrypha, and there's all these different accounts of Jesus's life. None of them actually indicate him as a like a king, like, you know what I'm saying, like a true, because Israel, even though they would have been a kingdom that was besieged and stuff and took over, um I just don't feel like if there was people back then that were claiming to be messiahs, like Jesus, I don't think history ever raised them up to be quote unquote kings of them.
Yeah, none of them became kings because you're supposed to become a king and sit on the throne of David, when supposedly David sat on a throne where he was king, not a vassal kingdom. Like Hezekiah became a vassal. He was a vassal king. Ahaz, all these other kings were vassal kings. Herod was a vassal king. So they weren't kings independent. They were a king under a larger king. So the Messiah is supposed to be a king with no other kings above them. And Jesus nor anybody else ever fulfilled that one in Israel.
So that's easy money right there. Like, you know, it just goes to show like the wordplay and everything. I think people, I was telling someone, I was like, people just get captivated by, well, the fear that you're indoctrinated with, and then just the literature, the wordplay. Because it's like, you know how someone will call, like you just see someone casually talking, you call them boss or you call them king and this and that. And it's like endearment, it's like uplifting, but it doesn't mean that in reality that's what it truly is. Because um, if the story says Jesus, the King of the Jews, and as you're saying, like basically the King of all kings, nobody above him, that's not the life that he lived, though. He lived a life of service, looks like some suffering and crucifixion. I know the story says a resurrection, but there's no evidence of no resurrection. There's no evidence of anybody. And that's the thing I love to say to Christians, because they get upset when I say, hey, there's no evidence of a resurrection. And they're like, oh, you're pulling out things that can't be that can't be proven. Well, it should be able to be proven. I mean, I'm not saying we should have some kind of evidence of that type of event, of someone ascending into the skies. You know what I'm saying? After death.
Well, you're not going to have proof of a resurrection because supposedly the whole body and everything is gone. They will say that an empty tomb would be the proof of it. But there are other events that supposedly happened around this that would demonstrate if this happened or not, and not the uh, what is it the delusion that everybody had, but there should be other people who recorded. Romans should have recorded an earthquake happening on the day of his resurrection. That's not recorded. The Romans and other Mesopotamians should have recorded this eclipse happening. That's not recorded. And there's one that's one that happened, but it ain't at the right time. You should have that. You should have a report of these zombies walking around Jerusalem. You know, you had like five. It was like all these graves gave up their deads of the saints, and they were walking around Jerusalem. You should have Roman reports of people walking around seeing the dead bodies. You know, the zombie attack. You don't have any of that. So if you had those things, then you might be able to say that Matthew's version of the resurrection has some validity, but it does. But none of those things are recorded to have happened. All of them record that the sky grew dark, but that didn't happen either. There's no recording of, and that's an impossibility because Passover happens when Passover is happening. It's happening during the time frame of a full moon. You cannot have a solar eclipse during a full moon.
Oh man,
It's an impossibility because the moon is on the opposite side of the earth. It can't happen. Solar eclipse happens during a new moon.
oh yeah, because it's lighting up the moon, so it's on the other side. Wow, I
Yeah.
never even
So
thought about it like that.
New moon is when you can't see it. You know those nights where you don't see a moon at all?
Yes.
Because it's directly behind the earth. So there's no light that hits the moon, so you don't have any reflection. A solar eclipse has to happen when there's a full moon, which is, that's so that's what a new moon is. But when it's a full moon, the moon is getting all the light it can get from the sun. The in order and of course this story is happening during Passover, and Passover happens with a full moon. So you can't have a solar eclipse during a full moon.
Gotcha.
So there's no darkness. There would have not have been, what is it? Is it 3 hours or 6 hours? I think it's like 3 hours or 6 hours of darkness. Now here's the other problem with that. No solar eclipse can last that long, where the sky is dark for 3 hours. Right? It doesn't happen. The sky is dark for like 18 minutes. Yeah, it's like only a few minutes when the sky is dark. Right? And the dark part has to happen when the moon is at that perfect little moment that it's right in front. Right? But for 3 hours, no, doesn't happen.
Oh man, that's see, I never even looked at it. I never even looked at it from that perspective. Like, but I guess since you're studied in it, and you probably got hit with so many different questions, and then I guess that's another way to debunk like the actual science to it, to what would have happened at that time, and then that just shows the imagination.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just people's imaginations writing stories to make it fit.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, man. They with when it comes to stuff like that, even like, I believe that when it comes to these events that are written in the Bible, like Passover, um, some of these other feast days and stuff that they have, I think that people don't realize a lot of those events that they claim happened. Those things were just stories that created to, I feel like, to deify or commemorate actual traditions that they held for like seasonal stuff in their culture, and they just attached they just attach these stories to give it a meaning. You know what I mean? Like, because that Passover's a lot of different cultures around that time had these feasts, these where they basically were doing it in honor of like whatever new harvest and stuff was coming in. And those people, their thing is bread. Their thing is whatever that is to use to make bread. So it's like a feast to commemorate that harvest that came in for that, about unleavened bread and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, all these every holiday is made up based on most of them based on nature or some event that some heroic event or change in society. And then usually they're just, if you study any holiday, you can find out where it originated from or where it came from. And so most of them just come from these stories. They made up the story about Moses. And so they created holidays to fit that story. So Passover comes from the made up story of Moses, which Moses comes from the made up story about Sargon. Well, part of it comes from the made up story about Sargon. The other part is because these Israelite people separated from the Canaanite people. They were still Canaanites, but they separated from them. And so there were holidays that the Canaanites had that they carried forward with them, and then they just adjusted and made them fit their stories. That's how all these things happen. We still do it to
And
this day.
that wouldn't be. I mean, I don't agree. Like I say, I don't agree with it, but that wouldn't be bad for their culture to practice the tradition. The problem is when they add parts to them stories that indicate or vilify people as bad, like how those stories do to the Egyptians, because it's made up stories, but it vilifies them, make it look like they're doing all this evil stuff, and people still hold on to those things like as if they're truths to this day.
But you got to have a villain. You can't have a story without a villain. I mean, how
But
good would your story be?
you can make it up like how they made up a Satan, like the actual to say like Egypt, like or any people. There's a real group of people like that. Even like the whole thing with the Canaanites, um, how Abraham was told to go there and take land from God. Like that makes it in saying that those people that are in that region are cursed by God. That part of that kind of stuff, I don't really agree with.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just how it goes. You got to have a villain that you can touch and see and smell. Without that type of villain, then you cannot justify the immorality that you're going to commit against them. So you have to have an enemy. You know,
Yeah.
like in every story, somebody has to be the enemy. Even when they are truly the enemy, they have to make the other people look like the enemy. We still do it to this day. When I was growing up, it was the USSR. Now and then it became China, and then it was the Arabs. So we got to have an enemy in order to get the people to have their moral justification for treating other people like shit. And so for them, it was any Canaanite group. Then it was the people, in the Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, and the Romans. They all have to be enemies so that they can justify their suffering, but also justify when they get the opportunity to make those people suffer. And Christians are doing that today. Oh, the enemy is the LGBTQ community. The enemy is the atheists. The enemy is the Catholics. The enemy is the Protestants, the Christian nationalists, the Arabs. You got to have enemies to make yourself feel better. Thank you for the rose. So you always got to have an enemy.
So a Christian, isn't a Christian is supposed to believe that the leaders of their country are appointed by God? Is
Yep.
that how it?
Yep.
So in theory, that means you are any that your nation leader is appointed by God, and therefore they are performing the acts of God.
Yep. Exactly. So no Christian should be against Trump. No Christian should have been against Obama. Christians shouldn't be against the Christians in New York. Shouldn't be against the Muslim mayor that they have right now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they shouldn't be against any of those because I think it's in Romans where it says that whatever government is appointed over you, God appointed that government, and you should obey that government and pray for that government. Not pray against it. You should pray for it.
Yeah, and yeah, and that's what I remember, and that's what I see. That's a big hypocrisy, um, and it causes confusion. You know what I mean? Especially because you even got Christians right now that like black people that will say that they are the people, is it Deuteronomy, the curse where
Yeah,
says
Deuteronomy
about
28.
the ships and stuff, like taken away on ships and suffering and being enslaved. Like they will relate that to transatlantic slavery and um all of those things come from, that's a Bible curse. So fighting against the government for oppression and discrimination and all these things, it's kind of like it contradicts what
Well,
you're taught.
well, the Hebrew Israelites do not accept, or some of them, most of them who really stick to Deuteronomy 28, they don't follow the New Testament. So that's just a New Testament thing. That's not an Old Testament thing. So they don't have to follow that part. And for them, they believe that their 400 years is up, and now God is going to give them back Israel, going to give them all the land, all the people. They're going to be able to oppress other people like they did in the Old Testament.
So why are they fighting for it? Because it's supposed to be. Because I did used to study under like.
Why are they fighting for what? They ain't fighting for shit. They just marching around in
Well,
their Power Ranger suits and standing on street
not
corners looking
okay.
like Power Rangers.
Okay, not fighting. Why are they? For me, that's kind of where I saw was kind of like nonsense or contradictory, because if you have a word, if you have a something from God that says you're basically going to get gathered up and rescued, then I feel like you should be where you're at if you're under that belief, and then until you're rescued by your savior that's going to come get you. Because if you do anything outside of the script, you ain't gonna reach the destination that you're supposed to be meeting.
Well, that's one of the things I challenge them on, is the fact that their 400 years is up, but they have not been redeemed by this God. They haven't taken any land. They haven't gained the promised land. None of the shit they're supposed to get for now being righteous to this God, they have not acquired any of it. They still just standing on street corners with placards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of bullshit.
So what do you get when you I don't, did you say you engaged with them in that before? Like asking them that,
I have
posing that
before.
question?
I have before. You know, they try to change the narrative. They try to say that it's coming. They do the same thing, you know, the Christians do. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. The shit ain't ever there. So I stopped arguing with them. When I had about 40 to 50 of them try to jump me in New Orleans, I was just like, you know what? Y'all too stupid for me to talk to. So I just don't even talk to them no more. I just walk right past them.
My goodness, man. My goodness. That's I guess, well, I know one time we were talking about religions being made, like you can make your own religion. I feel like that's one that was made um kind of also like the NOI, but this was made like was made here by them under that belief, but really they just wanted to break away from. They probably were all Christians, and then they just wanted to break away. But that indoctrination of a God and of a chosen people is rooted inside, and you want to hold on to it in any kind of way. So you find some scripture and like, oh yeah, this is us because this happened to us.
Oh yeah, it's a, you know, it's a great scam. The nation, but you're right that the Hebrew Israelites is an American creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see who started this bullshit.
I think I read it was someone from New York or somewhere.
Ben Israel, William Saunders, Crowdy.
Okay,
So let me just read this about the term Hebrew Israelite can refer to the ancient Israelites of modern Black Hebrew Israelite movement. The The ancient Israelites trace their origins to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement began in the late 19th century with figures like William Sawyer Crowdy. He was from the Church of God and Saints of Christ, and later evolved with the leadership such as Ben Amin Ben Israel, who founded the African Hebrew Israelite nation of Jerusalem. So, yeah, it's something that was created actually in the late 1800s. So in the late 1800s is when Crowdy first started. Him and a dude named Frank Cherry claimed that African Americans were descendants of ancient Israelites. And they started a Church of God and Saints of Christ in 1896. It got a real big push in the 60s with a dude who was born named Ben Carter. He started as the Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem in 1966 and led followers from Chicago to Israel in the late 1960s. So it has its roots in the late 1800s, but it really got the push that you see now came from the 1960s. And if you think about all the stuff that was going on in the 1960s with Jim Crow and the fight for civil rights, this was a dude who saw how the Nation of Islam had power, saw how the SCLCU had power, and figured out his own way to create power. Now, at least that dude went to Israel. The rest of these Power Rangers stayed here in America and changed it to say that, oh, this is Egypt and this is Israel and all this other bullshit. And they're accomplishing nothing. Not one thing have they accomplished. You know what? Let me not say that. You know, the only thing that they've ever accomplished, what I do give them credit for, is they targeted Black men and women who were financially suffering, who were, most of them were, felons, those who have been incarcerated. And I will say that to what I've witnessed, because I can't say this as a statistical thing, I've seen a lot of those who were going in and out of jail adopt this religion, and they stopped going in and out of jail because they were, they have to live a better life. But you see, I saw the same thing with Nation of Islam. It did stop these people who were going in and out of jail. It gave them something to keep from going in and out of jail, right? But you can find that in every religion where people were criminals, and then through this religion, they stopped being a criminal. I can applaud that aspect of it. But as far as them building bigger and better communities and truly affecting the growth of equality in America or other countries where Black people are the oppressed, they have achieved none of that. Right. So, and then it's all based on some make-believe bullshit. And all of them, Nation of Islam, SCLCU, Israelites, all of them still to this day oppress Black women. SCLCU, not so much, but they all still oppress Black women. So for that alone is enough to say they can get the hell on. They can, get the hell on with the horse they rode in on, because fuck them. So they're still just make believe, and these are people who, all of them, in one way, form, or fashion, is still connected to this Abrahamic God. They can't let that go. They just change the format that they believe in this God. The Nation of Islam just changed the format that they believe in Allah. Even Malcolm X organization, Muslims Incorporated, just changed the format that they believe in this God, this Abrahamic God. Hebrew Israelites did the same thing. And if you wanted to start a religion, all you got to do is change the format of the belief in this God, and you will find that there are sects of people who will follow that because they are feeling oppressed and lost. And that's how you gain congregants, is to find the oppressed, find the lost, and them fuckers will follow you no matter what you do. That's what our current president did in politics. That's what Democrats have done. That's what Republicans have done. That's what all of them do. And every religion does that to this day.
It's true, man. It's true. It's what me. I mean, this is personal, but like when I was you know, under the, the belief of, like, from a Israel perspective, like, I was under that belief that, yeah, I'm a child of Abraham, and through this lineage, which I knew my lineage. I knew who my mom and my dad were. And but the idea that when it was presented that, oh, us who came over to the Americas as through that transatlantic slavery, because that's my mom, she's from the Caribbean, and they made that connection, what I'm saying, like, oh, you know um we are we are descendants of these ancient Israelites, and they migrated into West Africa, and therefore and so on. And when I got that, because I guess at the place that I was in life, I was like looking for some type of hope, you know what I'm saying? Because I grew
Mhm.
up under the faith, and you're supposed to pray for things and see things, and I mean, I'm not gonna say too much about my personal life, but like, there's so many different things that have happened, that have prayed for, and those things didn't go through. And I've seen people who worship their entire life into their, older ages, and the things that they prayed for in times of need when they needed it, or not even about praying for things that they needed, but that devotion that they gave um, to the best that you can do in America. You can't sacrifice animals and stuff like that, but there's that devotion that they gave, and you don't see these miracle works, what I'm saying, that you read about. And so, but when you're told that, oh, you are the chosen people that this book tells you about, it kind of boosts you. If you're under that belief, it kind of boosts your
Mhm.
confidence. So
Mhm.
I ain't gonna lie, when I was under that belief, my chest was poked, was poked out, and I was like, it kind of gave you that. So it's a false sense of assurance, and I
Yeah.
think it's what you're saying. Those people, they prey on that, and because if they just get a little bit of change in their life, it's gonna feel so great.
Yeah. Indeed. And that is the danger. That is the danger. Uh, that is why I strive not to create a religion, because I could so easily do so. There are, like you were, there were people who you go through the Christian way, but it doesn't seem like the Christian way is working for you. But then if I
Mhm.
start teaching you about Hermetics, Taoism, then all of a sudden you will start, and you will. If I teach you the Hermetics, you will start gaining the very things that you desire to have in life. And the more and more you gain those things through practicing Hermetics, you will then start to say, "Oh shit!" And let's say I taught it the way the Kabbalion taught it. Because if I was going to do a religion, I got to teach it the Kabbalion way. So that would involve the all. So that gives you a being to worship, even though you don't worship the being. You recognize the being, but you don't worship it. But that would give you some divine being. And then I would just do a little massaging to say that the reason why people are, our people have suffered, and let's say I targeted Black people and Spanish people, because I would target the people who are oppressed in this country or in the world. And I would say that the reason why you weren't getting what the God of the Bible has tried to, they claim to give you, because the God of the Bible is not for you, but the true God is the all, and the all doesn't require your worship, but just your respect of how the universe works. And when you start doing these things, you will gain that. As you gain it, then your strength in that belief will keep you attached to this new religion that I would have created. And now I can manipulate you into anything that I personally desire. And that's how all these other religions work. The Hebrew Israelites see that Black people were being oppressed in the 1800s, late 1800s, being oppressed in the 60s, and they saw that this mechanism allowed them to step away from what they've been doing over and over again and not getting what they desire. Now I can give them something that makes them feel good about their history, justifies their oppression. And now that their oppression has been justified, I can teach them how to gain. And when I can get you off drugs, and when I can get you financially, get you in a better financial position, when I can get all these things in your life, have a better home life and all this, now you're going to stick with me and die on the hill with me. Well, you're going to die on the hill. I'm going to stand in the back.
Yeah.
Keep getting your money and stand in the back. But you're a believer,
Yes.
and you'll keep believing. And then you'll tell this to other people, and other people will see how your life has gotten better. And then they're going to be looking at their lives like, I've been praying to Jesus. I've been going to St. Alamo's, Christian Methodist, Baptist, Episcopal Church, and I ain't got shit. But that brother over there is looking good. He got community. He got an obedient wife. He got, they marching. They supporting each other. I'm going over there, and you're going to go over there, and you're going to start getting some of that. And then all of a sudden you're going to think, yeah, they right. And you'll justify that shit like nobody's business because your life has gotten better. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the way you do it. And that's been your life.
What you just said, what you said, I went through, hey, you probably gonna laugh, man, but I was a Bible thumper, man. I went through that experience where I was like, feeling like, oh yeah, this happened because I was so, I was so much under the belief that, my prayer to, and me being a child of the covenant, like I was receiving his blessing from that. I was really, really under that. And I'll tell anybody, just from personal experience, like anyone who's listening, like once you break away from that whole idea of something having that much control over your life, it takes a weight off of your shoulder, because even though you might not look like you're walking around with weight on it, you are, because that pressure of, if you know you living wrong and then you have this thing on your mind about well, you can get better on yourself, but if it's something where you're not making that effort and you're just living in it, and then you have this fear like, oh, there's this being that can do punishments and all kind of things. Once you take that aspect out of your life and then you just start living a life that you know morally to be right, whatever that is to you, you take off a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on your everyday living.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely will. And that's all I try to teach. That when we go outside of, okay, we talk about this to deconstruct. Then when I talk about things just to better your life will get better. I mean, it's very simple. It's not that hard. If you were to follow some good financial principles, follow some relationship principles, and all of that is following the Hermetic principles, your life will get better. And you don't have to believe in a God to do it. Right? It's real simple. Right? It's simply stated. It takes
effort.
Not just effort, discipline. It takes discipline to achieve it. And that is one of the things that is lacking from so many people is discipline. Right? Do you have the discipline to follow my financial plans? Do you have discipline to dig into the root cause of your relationship problems, your health problems, your financial problems? If you got the discipline to dig into the roots of all those and then solve the root, then you can pretty much achieve whatever it is that you desire to achieve. Because you will evaluate, is certain things worth me doing? What are the effects? What will be the effects if I go into this causation? And once you determine that, what's the value of that? Right? one of my causations, one of the effects I wanted to have is that my children never suffer the way that I suffered financially. And so a lot of my causations, I didn't recognize the time that I was losing with them and how valuable that was. So, but you have to give up something. Something has, in order to maintain that discipline. If which one is going to be greater to you? And you put that effort in, and then you're going to get the results. And then you just have to deal with those results. And
Yes.
so you learn to value. You start to determine what's valuable in your life and what you're willing to put your energy towards. And then when you can do that on a consistent basis before you enact any causations, then you will be able to have the better life that you desire. You may not have all the money, but you got all the time, So you have to figure out how much energy can I give to achieving finances in order to have the better balance of time. And that's like the law of gender, figuring out your instructive energy versus your nurturing energy. Right? So when you're doing in a relationship, if you become a workaholic so you can provide this lifestyle for your spouse, but you're not nurturing your spouse, you wind up losing your spouse. So you have to find the balance of, we may not have the newest cars, the newest this, the biggest house, but in order for me to do that, I have to put in this much time, which then you'll have the bigger car. I mean, the better car, you have the biggest house, you'll have all this money, but you won't have me. We won't have the relationship to enjoy it. So then we just have to have a smaller house, some new used cars, so that we have time to enjoy, because the relationship should be the thing that we give more energy towards, not the stuff. So when you learn that kind of balance, which that is one of the reasons why most relationships fail, is because they're out of balance, not unequally yoked. They're just out of balance as far as time, nurturing, and instructions.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I think it's hard even for a lot of people in this society, the way the class structure is, like the average person has to work, whether they work at a job or they run a business, but they have to spend a lot of time throughout the day. There's only 24 hours in the day, and they spend like a large chunk of it, like, earning, their money. And that time that's left over is very vital, because if it's not allocated properly, then if you're in a relationship, and even your relationships, not even your intimate relationships, just personal relationships with people, they could dwindle because your time is not allocated. Because that what you're saying, nurturing, because a relationship, I know we like to say 50-50, but sometimes it is 60-40 or whatever. But people you have to be compatible with whoever that person is. And if someone requires more of that time nurturing and you're not able to provide it, then that ain't gonna work.
Nope, it doesn't. And it's, like you said, not just for intimate relationships, but it is the relationship you have with your kids, your extended family, your friends, every relationship. You got to figure out how much time is required for each one of those relationships to be able to flourish. Otherwise, they're going to suffer. And my kids told me they would have rather had more time with me than all the other stuff that was provided. And kids are going to do that. I don't think kids are ever going to have enough of your time. I mean, I did think about that aspect of it. They want the stuff. They want the stuff, and they wanted the vacations and the trips and all that stuff. They wanted all that, but they also want all your damn time too. So, they want it all, but they're kids.
We all want time with we want the time with our parents for sure.
But
that's a natural thing.
I did have the balance.
I don't think they would complain about you. Probably they wouldn't complain about you.
Oh no. I still get they still gave me my props, as a father. They
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to take what they say and be like, okay, I understand what they're saying, but they also greedy as hell when it comes to having that. They want everything. They thought the cards, the debit card was a magical tool. So they're a little different. But when you're dealing with a grown person, then they have more of an understanding. They know what you got to do in order to facilitate life. So they can reasonably look at your life and say, well, I know I can't have all your time, but I want more than just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I need more than just a little bit. I need more than just what you're giving, because what you're giving ain't enough. We got to find a balance in this thing. That's why, like, when you got these couples who, they expect one person to work and the other person stays home, that shit don't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It don't work. You
can
say
work.
You say it don't work.
Well, let me rephrase. It could work, but they are gonna want more shit than what they getting. You know what I'm saying? So they'll want the bigger house, the nicer cars, the clothes, the shopping, and all that kind of stuff. But then they want you to be home more. But you can't be home more, and they get all the house, the clothes, the shopping, the cars, and all this kind of bullshit. So they have to find a balance and say, okay, well, I can't have all of this if I want them. So we have to find a balance where I'm not getting as much of the outside stuff as I want, but I got more of their time. Now, in that situation, you got to say that, okay, well, if you want the houses and all that shit, and you want time, I can't go out here and get all the money myself. We have to get this shit together. And then we both make sure we're coming home together and enjoying our time together, with all the house and the cars and all this other bullshit. But one person can't work two jobs or work one of those. Like, I used to work this one job where I was, and there's very few jobs I've ever had, but this one job that paid me great. Yeah, I made an ass ton of money, but I was traveling anywhere from 20 to 28 days a month. So you got everything except me. You don't have me.
Yeah.
So once that contract was over, there was another contract that was worse than that. Actually, it was worse. It was even more time gone. And I was just like, hell no, I'm not doing it. So we just not gonna have all this other shit unless I can figure out another way to accommodate to get it. And even when I did that, I left in the morning at about 5 a.m. I didn't get home till about 8 o'clock at night, except on Friday I got home around 6. And then the only other thing I had was the weekend. Yeah. So it's like, you got to pick and choose. Like, is it worth having all of this when you don't get to even see your kids? You got to come home and wake them up just to spend some time with them. It's like, nah, so you got to figure out a balance of all that stuff. And then even for yourself, you got to figure out a balance, because what is your life if all you're doing is working? Even for this right here, I be watching this clock because I know that there's a few other things I want to get done before my wife gets home. And because when she gets home, I'm not dealing with none of this stuff with y'all. I'm done. So I even with this, it's like I engineered my life so that I don't have to work, because for the majority of my life, I've worked at least 10 hours a day at minimum. So, and I see the fault in that. After seeing the fault in it, I had to re-engineer my life so that I don't work 10 hours a day. But still be able to have a decent lifestyle that both of us can be happy with.
Yeah. You don't have to have everything, but you are able to live a quality lifestyle that's, to your standard and to your liking. And I think that's a perfect, to me, that's a great way to live as far as happiness, quality of life, because this whole working, people will see, a lot of people like to say, oh yeah, you earn this many figures. Well, and if you spending so much time to earn that much, and on top of it, you're not able to really enjoy it. I'm not talking about enjoy it like taking a picture and posting it and like putting out the image that you're enjoying your life. I mean, real, true enjoyment of life.
Yeah. I mean, one of my best friends, I want to punch him in his face every now and then because he works from home. His wife doesn't work. My goddaughter is just growing up. And even though he works from home, he works 60 to 80 hours a week from home. So he's locked away in his office 60 to 80 hours a week. So I'm like, dude, my goddaughter is kind of growing up with a shadow of a father. You know, when you are off, you ain't got time. If it ain't involving my goddaughter, you know, you and your wife, y'all do what y'all want to do. I don't care. But as far as she concerned, you better get that damn quality time. And he's done better over the years. But I used to be real mad at him when she was like 2-3 years old. I was like, dude, you ain't spending no time with her. And you're going to regret that shit. You know, he's a little bit younger than me. So I was telling him, I said, you're going to regret it because you've seen my life. And I've told you how I regret some of the hours that I was keeping. You know, don't do that shit. You know, but you want to make sure that they can go to private school, or in her case, homeschool for a while. Now she's in public school. But you want to make sure that y'all living in the $700,000-$800,000 house, and you know you're a car aficionado. You want all your cars and you know all this other bullshit. But all that don't mean nothing if every time I look online, all I see is her and her mom going here and going there, going here and going there, and your ass ain't in none of the pictures because you're not there. Yeah. So you got to get that. Yeah. So sometimes you have to sacrifice things. I have the ability to build $1 million business, but I can never, what you have to give up is way too much. Now I can do it now because because we've created a sustainable life that doesn't require me to be outside the house forever. I could do it now. And my wife and I are developing plans. We're working towards the plan of developing such, but it's easier to do it now because it won't require me having to be there 10, 12 hours a day. But it took me 50 years to get there, 50 plus years to get to that point. And most people don't have the patience to be able to get to that point.
Gotcha.
And we just don't know shit. Because if I had known 20 years ago what I know now,
I say the same thing.
Yeah, if I had known 20, 30 years ago what I know now, then I could have gotten there. So if I knew 30 years ago, then 20 years ago, I could have gotten there without stressing the hell out of my family. You understand? So, and that's what I try to teach my kids now. Hey, do this shit, do these things while you are young, so that by the time you have when you get a family, you have the money and you have the time, right? And none of that shit got to do anything to do with a God. I know we not went way off subject matter, but none of that has to do with a God. It has to do with your decisions, how you plan your life, understanding how the universe works, which if you understand how the universe works, that will tell you how everything in the universe works, how everything that man does work, right? Because everything exists on a pole. And, you know, how you vibrate on that pole is going to determine what outcomes you get.
I agree. Like, I agree. I told my younger brother that I got a younger brother. He's like a student athlete, and I told him when he was younger, when he was still like in kind of like intermediate school, he wasn't really he was into sports, athletics, but he didn't really play like on teams and stuff. But he knew about all the stuff, and I told him, I said, hey, she get out there and if the school got a team, like, go try it, like go try out, and you athletic, and you can get coached up and just work on your skills. He got out there. He didn't think he measured up. He didn't have the belief that he measured up with his peers. He made it. He was cool. He had a good first year. Second year, better. And then when he got on, he started to become like real better. So now he's in high school and he's like ranked, and but what I tried to tell him was, because I didn't really want to go outside of like my dad. My dad is like, he's still Christian, but so I didn't really want to go to. I wanted to tell him that, hey, you can manifest whatever you put forward. You put that effort to it. You can work towards a goal and something that you don't see. It can happen if you plant that seed yourself. It's not really necessarily about any God or anything like that. It's just about what you're saying, discipline, and that effort, what I mean, to work towards it. And you might not always reach the specific goal that you strive for, but you will see progress from where you was at to where to where you got to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's without God. It's not God did it for you. You know what I mean? It's you work towards it.
Yep. Well, look here, dude. It's 3:05. I can't let these lives go 3.5, 4 hours no more, because there are other things that I need to get done that I'm not getting done. So I'm gonna get off here.
Okay, hey, I appreciate, man. Shit, it's a good show, man, and I'll be on. Shoot, I got a lot of time this week, so I'm gonna be checking out the shows, bro.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll be here. Oh, I just messed up TikTok for a second there. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. We'll be here. But yeah, hey, so appreciate you, Obi-Wan. May the force be
All
with
right,
you.
no, man.
All right.
So with you, yeah.
All right. So we are going to wind this down right now. Especially, I see y'all be having all y'all little side conversations over there. As a reminder, and I will be doing this all the damn time. I'm gonna nag the shit out of y'all. Go to my Facebook page. Look at one of the featured posts. The featured post. One of them has the shirts that you can buy, but the other one is for our cruise that we're going to be taking October 31st. You want to book your cruise as early as possible, especially if you want to do like how me and my wife did, and a few other people have already done, which is to be on a payment plan so that it's not busting you in the face. That's part of doing good economics. You put your $100 down, you make your $100 and whatever dollar monthly payment. I know me and my wife did it a week ago. It was only $166 a month. So you want to be able to make that. That's easier than trying to save the money, and then buy it, because the price may fluctuate by that time frame, or whatever room that you desire, whatever type of cabin you desire to have. It may not be available. So you want to go ahead and grab that cruise now. My cruise is booked. Right. Sherry has booked her cruise. I know a few other people have booked their cruise. So we're going to have a good time. We're going to go to Chichen Itza. Make sure you have some, so you can start walking today. Because from what I hear, Chichen Itza, that's a lot of walking. And the cenote, we're doing the cenote. So you'll see on the Facebook which excursion that we're signing up for, which is the one that says cenote and it's Chichen Itza. And Sherry is saying that they don't have many rooms left. Damn. Yeah, people don't realize they be booking cruises 2 and 3 years out. So, and Sherry said that they don't have many rooms left. So you better jump on it while you can, because I ain't blocking nothing. I'm not blocking nothing. So you want to jump on it as soon as possible. Put your $100 down. It's a 5-day. I think it's a 5-day joint. But we're gonna have a good time. I don't care if it could just be 4 other people, because I know 4 other people who've already decided they're going and booked theirs. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 20. I don't give a damn how many it is. We're gonna have a good time, just like we had a great time here in San Antonio, right? So I hope that you guys, some of you guys join in. Mitzvah Ball said that he did that one, that he did that tour. So cool. Said the cenote was beautiful. Good. Yeah, the pictures look great. I'm gonna see it for myself. And I can't wait to see the pyramid in Chichen Itza. So jump on it now. Time moves faster than you realize. Time moves faster than you realize. And plus, for some of you guys who took my Financially on Fire program, by going through, this is a great opportunity for you to test out the things that we talked about there. Commit yourself to you do things early, get the best price for it, and then you budget, put it within your budget, and you facilitate it in your budget. When you can demonstrate that, you can do that for everything. Once you get, you create the habit of managing your money correctly, that habit brings you more peace than most other things in your life. And you'll see how that helps you in other areas of your life as well when you create good habits, period. So look forward to it. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow. Look, share all the videos. Share the videos. I'm going to produce at least about 3-4 videos after I finish this. That's why I have to start 3 o'clock, 3 hours in. Got to be done because I haven't been able to get all the videos done that I want to get done. So I got stuff on the back burner that I want to get done. So I'll start producing more videos. Got some videos I need to produce for people who are super fans, people who are members on YouTube, people who are subscription holders on Facebook. There's some videos that I'll start producing that are just for those groups. So if you want to support the channel that way, that is how I reward those people who support the channel that way. But everybody else, just continue to like videos, comment on videos, share videos. I greatly appreciate it. It helps build the channel. And it busts up them stupid ass prayers that people say, oh, I'm praying to God that your channel goes down. And yet it's just been growing. So yeah, to all of those people, it busts that whole thing up by adding more and more people to the channel. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And Fred, you ain't going to be nowhere. You weren't here this year. You ain't going to be there that year. You just going to sit up there near Dallas and lick your little wounds for every time you catch that ass whooping on this show. Yeah, I know where you live.